Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Welcome back. We have an amazing live stream planned ahead. We're talking about Chuck Grassley, the raid at Mar-a-Lago, new records released, quick preview, then we'll dive in. But here is what the senator from Iowa posted today. Said received shocking new docs today from the DOJ and the FBI, showing the FBI did not believe it had probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago, Trump's residence down there in Florida. You know what it is. And they did it anyways. So we're going to go through these. He released them. They came over from the FBI. Kash Patel is confirming it. He says, it's true. We just turned over documents and it says inside the FBI, the DOJ didn't give a damn. They didn't have probable cause, but they did it anyways. And so they're busted. And we've got questions about who personally approved these search warrants. One guy's name is called Merrick Garland. And we'll go through the latest. We'll go through all of the documents, 27 pages of emails and just disgusting deep state slobbery all over each other. And we'll see what is inside. Then we've got some reaction on this from the president and other things before we turn our attention back over to the trial of the backdoor judge. Judge Dugan is in trial day 2. We got some updates on this. You can see a full update over here from Fox 6 Milwaukee, including some photos of what's going on inside the courtroom. And so we'll get into the trial. We've also got our excerpts courtesy of Adam Klasfeld coming up. And then lastly, we'll turn our attention to this real problematic situation that the Department of Education Secretary Linda McMahon has now uncovered. Apparently, Tim Walz has a ghost students problem. They've got 1,800 ghost students were found, and apparently they got $12.5 million of taxpayer-funded grants and loans. Students that may not even exist. And so they're demanding now that Tim Walz resign. She even came out and said, shame on you, Governor Walz, for allowing this to happen. And he's under investigation for more. We've also got Brooke Rollins. Agriculture is saying tick-tock over there, Timmy. And the clock is ticking. A bunch of federal agencies are investigating the Somali fraud that is all over there in Minnesota. So reactions on that. Tim Walz was also out today trying to talk about guns for whatever reason. But we have a great stream planned, and you may have seen this one. Tomorrow, President Trump coming out to give an address to the nation tomorrow night, live from the White House, 9 o'clock Eastern time. I look forward to seeing you then. And that's going to be interesting. It has been a great year for our country, and the best is yet to come. So before we dive into things, here's Caroline Levitt. She was giving us a little bit of preview of what's coming up tomorrow night. Here is the press secretary.
Really look forward to President Trump addressing the nation tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern. I hope your audience will tune in, and Americans across the country will tune in to hear from their president as well about the historic accomplishments that he has garnered for our country over the past year. If you look at the security of our border, if you look at stopping Joe Biden's inflation right in its tracks, bringing down gas prices to the lowest level in 5 years. President Trump will be talking about what's to come. The best is truly yet to come, as he often says. And so he'll be addressing the country about all of his historic accomplishments over the past year, and maybe teasing some policy that will be coming in the new year as well as we head into this Christmas season.
All right. So that's coming out tomorrow. We'll be looking forward to seeing what the president has there for us tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. But before we dive into the meat and potatoes, you know what we got to talk about? The wellness company. Dun, 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 dun. You see, I've got my COVID emergency kit. Hang on to this one because there's a bunch of good stuff inside, and it's the holiday season. People are getting sniffles and all the things. Nobody wants to cancel a family trip or miss any work or waste hours at urgent care. Instead, boom, your medical emergency kit from the wellness company. Just open it up. It's packed with goodies. You can just consult a doctor. It's already here, and you can treat your condition. You'll get 8 core prescriptions inside, over 30 conditions, of course, COVID, strep throat, pneumonia, urinary tract infections, all the things. Don't have to wait in waiting rooms or try to get a pharmacy to fill it up. You just got it ready to go. Ordering is super simple. Follow the link in the description below. Short intake form, just fill it out. A licensed doctor will review it, give you a call, and then help you get situated. No one wants to be sick during the holiday, so be prepared. Check it out. Go to twc.health/Robert, link in the description below. Use code Robert. You'll save some money. You'll get free shipping. And that way you'll be prepared. You'll have all of this ready to go in case you need it. Just unzip it, open it up, boom. You're locked and loaded. Now, these are only available to U.S. residents. Links are in the description below. Thanks for supporting our stream and our sponsor. And we appreciate you getting prepared in case you need it. You know, you don't want to get caught needing something and not having it. So shout out to our friends at the Wellness Company. Thanks for sponsoring the show today. All right, now let's get into it. The FBI raid. The FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago was illegal. We now have Chuck Grassley releasing documents that he got from the FBI and the DOJ, and he posted these today, but Cash doubled down and confirmed it, saying, "It's true. We just turned over documents to Capitol Hill to be made public showing the FBI and the DOJ they did not have probable cause for raiding Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago, but the DOJ didn't care. Merrick Garland didn't care. Didn't give a damn, quote, and did it anyways." So we've got all the documents queued up here. We'll go through them and see what Chuck Grassley got his hands on. But he posted this. He said, "Received shocking new docs today from DOJ and FBI showing FBI did not believe it had probable cause to raid Trump's house, but Biden and the DOJ pushed for it anyways." Now, based on the records, Mar-a-Lago raid was a miscarriage of justice. Been saying that for a long time, obviously. It's nice that Congress is kind of catching up, and the FBI too. So who's going to be held responsible for an illegal raid? Is it going to be Christopher Wray at the FBI? Jack Smith was appointed after the raid. He got the files handed to him after the fact. Who could it be? Well, one person was all over the place, and his name is Merrick Garland. Even Wikipedia is confirming this to us. They say Merrick Garland didn't want to talk about this much, didn't want to comment on it too heavily, but then he did. The DOJ on August 11th filed a motion to unseal the warrant. Now, on the same day, Merrick Garland, Biden's attorney general, held a press conference, and he came out and he said, yeah, in light of the former president's public confirmation of the search, I am confirming, Merrick, that I have personally approved the decision to seek the search warrant. Oh, no, Merrick. We know you did. He said we have to uphold the rule of law. You're a liar because your search warrant didn't even have probable cause according to your own FBI. So spare us the lectures. He approved it. He should be investigated. And if found to have committed some crimes, incarcerated for a long time. So we've got the background on it. Now let's take a look at the documents that landed over at Chuck Grassley's desk. The great senator from Iowa gets this letter over from the assistant director called Marshall Yates at the FBI DOJ entity. They say, all right here, Chuck, this letter is a response to the Judiciary Committee's letter about the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago back on August 8th, 2023. We remember. Then Jack Smith got appointed a few months later. I think it was November. Director Patel is leading the FBI towards increased transparency with Congress, and transparency is great. Transparency is good if it leads to, consequences if you find something that's transparently criminal. If you find something is transparently criminal and nothing happens and you're just transparent about the criminality, it's like, well, that's really nice of you to be transparent. But unless you just want us to watch and witness ongoing criminality and no consequences for the people who committed those crimes, it's just, it's like a first step into something much bigger. So now they're saying we're releasing these documents, and it's great that they're sending them over to Congress, but does Pam have these? She's the U.S. Attorney General, so she could prosecute some people too. So Kash Patel's at the FBI. So anyways, nice that they're handing them over to Congress. Great. Today's production relates to an investigation of this classified information in this case file through 01 through 026. Today's production contains minimal redactions to protect certain personal information, but the FBI is available to engage with Congress and answer any questions. Please note, there may be some sensitive materials in there, and we hope this is helpful to you. Thank you for supporting the FBI, our mission, and our people. So it's a great start, but hopefully something comes of it. Otherwise, we're just reading documents all day. He's like, wow, that's very interesting. But here's some of the redactions, and they're not that light. They're all the names. And the names are pretty important because we want to know Are these people still there? Is whoever this person still is there at the Washington field office at the FBI? Subject is plasmic echo. It's a summary. And here is what the messages say. All right, please send to the PE subcourt file. Thank you. Let's go back down here. Here you go. Here's an update. Sent back June 2nd, 2022, before the raid occurs. You've got all these people in here. Got questions about them all. Lisa Gentlecore, Anthony Riedlinger, Robert Stewart Sinton. And we want to know, are they still employed or are they fired? And if they're fired, is that why we have their names? And if they're fired, why is everybody else on this chain also not fired? Might be a good reason for it, but the presumption is you're fired. If you're a part of this investigation, you can overcome that presumption. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, of course, but you don't get a presumption of innocence if you're on the email chain. That's not how that works. If you're charged with a crime, you get that, but not in an email chain. You have a relationship with the FBI, and if you were part of an illegal investigation and you were communicating about how to rig a search warrant, not objecting, then you're as bad as the rest of them. So here's the email. All right, here's an update. They write, we learned from Jay Bratt. Jay Bratt was the Florida Oompa Loompa who was on Jack Smith's team. Before he was on Jack Smith's team, he was at the DOJ investigating Trump. So then Jack Smith came aboard. They said, oh, he's a special counsel. So he's independent and nonpartisan. Jack Smith went and hired Jay and just subsumed the entire investigation. So update, we learned from Jay Bratt, a DOJ prosecutor and just a terrible person who was, I believe it was him, in our opinion, he was threatening Stanley Woodward, that he did not intend to negotiate with Corcoran. That's Trump's lawyer. Okay. Corcoran says, we're going to give you the files. We'll negotiate with you. You want classified docs? Come and get them. Or have any further discussions with him, period. Rather, Jay Bratt was going to send a letter the morning of 6/6 as the compliance date of this. Washington, the FBI, has not even seen this letter. We were informed of this as of an hour ago, and it had not been sent to Trump's lawyers. Now, today, someone is scheduled to go before this person. There are more appearances planned next week. Washington field office looks at these appearances as a means to building the mishandling case and perhaps add some more recent details to where these secret files may be located. Now, as we understand the DOJ's position via Jay Bratt, the Jack Smith hatchet man, they would like the FBI to have the search warrant in hand on 6/6. And when assuming noncompliance with this, the FBI would immediately serve the search warrant. Washington FBI has some concerns with how realistic that is, considering the DOJ's timeline and our need to place resources where they need to be in order to accomplish such a search. Like, we're going to raid Mar-a-Lago. We got to get our people in place. Since the letter has not even been sent, Corcoran hasn't been notified of this timeline, and the deadline is quickly approaching. So in order to assist with the management of expectations at Washington field office, we've been working with Miami down in Florida to formulate an operational plan that's safe, thorough, and conducts a search with a minimal footprint. Ideally, if we are to serve the warrant that I remind everyone remains in draft stage, we would seek to conduct a search, seize the boxes, get him out onto a plane as quickly as possible. So they're just going to go raid his house and steal documents that are his. In coordination with Miami, we are working up the plan, including timing and logistics. We'll circulate that to you at HQ so that you can help our seniors with their decision-making and expectations for timing. We see headlines all day about retribution. There's a whole paragraph of it right here inside the FBI. We will circulate that to you at the HQ. And since this other guy, special agent in charge, Riedlinger, has agreed that we will not sign the warrant until it's reviewed by FBI general counsel, also corrupt people, we at the FBI have some control over the timing, with the understanding that if we collectively decide the search warrant is warranted, we can use that to implement the logistics. Okay, so they're hashing it out. That's back in June 2nd. Now, they're following up in a response to this email. June 1st comes out. Hey, just FYSA on where we are from the Washington field office perspective. And here's what they said preceding that, June 1, 9/28. They say, all right, Washington is conducting a mishandling of the materials. Our goals are to gather information and determine the circumstances surrounding classified documents returned to NARA from Mar-a-Lago. Trump was already given the files back. Trump brought them down there and said, would you like me to secure any of these records? They said, yeah, I do. He said, fine, no problem. Put some locks on there, barricade that up, whatever. Then they invited Jay Bratt and others to come down there and look around, and they were doing a recon mission to just try to create probable cause because they didn't have any. Trump sent files back. They say Washington has copied all the documents, and we've detailed everything. There's newspapers, periodicals, personal papers, and there was classified information that was found. But he was the president, and he has the right to documents in writing. That's in the Constitution. And he has those documents because he was the president. He could have declassified them even by an act, by virtue of taking the documents. They're his documents. Washington Field Office has conducted approximately however many interviews related to this matter. Very little has been developed related to who might be culpable for mishandling the documents. From the interviews, Washington has gathered information suggesting that there may be additional boxes, probably the same type down there. Washington has been drafting a search warrant affidavit related to these boxes, but has some concerns that the information is from a single source, has not been corroborated, and it may be dated. Wow, almost as bad as like the Christopher Steele fake dossier was. Single source, made up, no evidence, but it was good enough for our intelligence agencies to write a whole report about it and try to coup the country. DOJ CES opines that the search warrants meet the probable cause standards. Like, it's good enough, okay? And they're low standards. I mean, it's pretty low. Probable cause, single source, not corroborated. It's good enough for government work. One complicating factor is that the DOJ issued blank to the attorney representing Trump on 5/11, requesting the return of any documents. The return date of that date was 5/24/2022. Now, on 5/25, the attorney wrote back to the DOJ saying the DOJ had told him the return date was flexible. He said, okay, so now you're executing hard deadlines? Somebody else from your team said, it's not a big deal, just get it to us by the end of the month, for example. The attorney then said the DOJ could either move to compel compliance or try to reach an accommodation. Give us more time. You said we had more time, so can we have it? So in light of this, Washington asked the DOJ whether the contacting the attorney in the wake of this letter and trying to negotiate the terms would be reasonable. The DOJ has been adamant. No, actually. They say no accommodation would be given. And no, we're not going to reach out to the attorney. So Trump's people think that they're acting in good faith, think that they're cooperating with the government. But they're not. They're just saying, nope, actually no accommodation, and we're going to raid. Now, of interest in the responses to the DOJ, the attorney outlined what is likely a defense strategy to a potential mishandling charge, namely that a president has absolute authority to declassify documents. It's true. And that the presidential action involving these documents is not subject to a criminal sanction anyways. Another attorney has stated in the press that the former president already declassified these things. Washington anticipated this response, and they're not like, oh, well, that's a good point. So we might have a question about that, but that's a good point. He is the president. This is different than every other search warrant we've ever executed in the history of America. So maybe we should explore those legal options. They already did. They said, we don't give a crap. They anticipated this response, and they have repeatedly asked the DOJ to reach out to the White House counsel for an opinion on this. So why don't you ask Joe Biden's lawyer what he thinks? But that discussion has not happened. So whether the attorney, Trump's lawyer's interpretation of presidential authority is correct or needs to be addressed, but no matter what, it bears on intent as well as anyone operating under his direction. And so they say, well, he is intentionally holding on the documents. His lawyers are even saying he can hold the documents. They say he's got absolute authority. So that makes our case stronger because we're saying, oh, see, you've got the documents and you're saying you're not going to give them back. So if you're not going to give them back and I have absolute authority, we have no choice but to raid you, is what they're saying. So the DOJ has also been queried on whether any charges are being contemplated and against who. Washington has not gotten an answer on that as of yet. But per FBI HQ, any search warrants would be served after Trump leaves Mar-a-Lago because they're cowards. Can't even look him in the face, honestly. They went through his wife's drawers, Melania's drawers. They confirmed that. And they did it while he was gone because they're cowards. It's just simple as that. That date is currently believed to be 6/3/2022. Now, in the meantime, Washington has continued to conduct interviews in an effort to gain more information about the goals of the case and to execute a search warrant. But even as we continue down the path towards a search warrant, Washington believes that a reasonable conversation, Washington Field Office FBI, with the former president's attorney stating that the FBI and the DOJ are about to execute a search warrant, ought not to be discounted. Just tell them. Just tell Trump's lawyers like, hey, man, they're really barking at us like to get these files. So if you don't give it to us, we're going to come get them. Didn't even tell them. At a minimum, even if the former president's attorney is correct and that the documents were all classified or believed to be classified, it can be reasonably argued the documents are sensitive and should be properly secured until this is sorted out. Now, this conversation could easily be accomplished at the same time that we begin our investigation and continue to build out the search warrant. Can we just talk to them and forego this entire raid? And of course, we know how that went. July 12th. Now we fast forward. This is the current status of where we are and what we see as logical leads yet to be accomplished. We've had some interviews. So they interviewed Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. DOJ is working on this per Julie E. Don't know if she's around or not. Probably should be fired. Not positive, but probably. This person, redacted. DOJ will issue another one per Julie. Body man Nick Luna. FBI is awaiting his lawyer. Do we bring Walt Nada back into this if blank cannot answer about recency? Walt Nada. They also conducted analysis, reviewed CCTV footage, analyzed this and this, maybe Melania's underwear or whatever, other options for resolution. Oh, here's a good idea. Just speak with the former president or their lawyers. Wow. Shocking. I know. Former president. And you can say, well, you never talk to criminals about raiding their homes to seize. This is the former president. It's not just some random criminal. Request the DOJ to contact Corcoran and Bob, Christina Bob, so Evan Corcoran, Christina Bob, Trump's lawyers, regarding new material witness information and a new NARA referral for all Presidential Records Act versus the classified documents. So many options other than raiding the president's house with the approval to use lethal force. It's in their records, it's in their files. Now they're going to say it's just standard operating procedure and it's all normal. I don't really care. This is not a normal raid. This is not a normal search warrant. He is the president, was the president again. Now, the DOJ has also inquired as to an ops plan for the search warrant of Mar-a-Lago. I let them know we're not in agreement. Look at this. Not in agreement for probable cause on the search warrant. Wow. Thank you. This person and team, FBI and team. I let them know we're not in agreement for probable cause on the search warrant. Okay. There's no basis for this raid. And that we already had, this is from the FBI in emails. We lived through the entire classified documents saga. Remember Jake Tapper every day? National security secrets, drastic consequences for American foreign policy. All night, every night. He was sick. Shouldn't have even raided him. And no probable cause on the search warrant, and that we already had an ops plan in place that will be quickly updated between the FBI Miami and the FBI Washington. However, Washington does not believe that we have probable cause for the 45 office, Trump's office, or the bedroom, Melania's bedroom, due to recency and issues of boxes versus classified information. Therefore, we are in disagreement on the search warrant and its scope. We are not yet finalizing a search warrant as we are missing relevant logistics and details. Okay, shout out to this guy who's saying you guys are wrong. Emails go on. We have no probable cause. Your files are bad. July 14th, we're fast forwarding a couple of weeks and we get another sequence of emails that come down. Let's start at the bottom, seen here. All right. So on July 8th, let's start even further down and see where this thread ends. Looks like right there. All right. So this is the first email. It looks like July 6th. From Julie Edelstein to Jay Bratt and Brett Reynolds. Sending emails back and forth. Hi all, thanks for the patience while I worked on this. Attached is the most updated. Standing by for any feedback. Very respectfully, Special Agent, Washington Field Office, some FBI agent who's redacted. He sends this to the DOJ. Okay, FBI agent sends this to Julie Edelstein. All DOJ prosecutors copying a bunch of FBI folks on there. Updated search warrant is what the thing says. Hey, thanks again for your work on this, Jeremy, says Julie. I think this is in good shape. I cleaned it up a bit and have flagged in the comment areas that need your review and input. Julie also responds, hi, checking in. When should I expect to have this back? I'd like to be able to get this to Jay and George today. So she sends that back to that FBI person, copies all of them. Hey, they want the search warrant very quickly. It's now July 7th. Likely sometime tomorrow morning, says the FBI guy. Thank you, exclamation point. Nice guy. Team, attached, he sends another one. Please find the latest draft of the search warrant. He should be fired. Changes are tracked and or have comments, but notable changes and questions to address include this. Removal of specific caveats not already explained in the beginning of the warrant. Questions on revision of attachment A to further define the premises as specific locations to be searched within the larger property, like the storage room, the residential suite. Thank you again. Hopefully he's been fired. Now, here's what we got back. Michael Thakur, another DOJ person, sends this back from Thakur to Julie and others. But before that, Julie looks like it maybe forwards this. She says, all right, hey, thanks, someone. I've gone through it. I deleted the comments that were resolved and I tracked further changes. I think this is now ready for Brett, Jay, and the Southern District of Florida to review, adding Karen and Mike to the chain. Now, with respect to the locations at the premises to be searched, I think we should hop on a call. Limiting the search warrant to specific areas gives me some pause, as we're not exactly sure where the boxes were moved within the premises after they left the storage room. We, of course, don't want to be searching guest premises, but I'm not sure how to limit this within the text of the warrant. Julie really wants Melania's underwear. She's like, yeah, we should go in there, though. Might have some files under there. Yeah, what colors are they? So I agree. We should not limit it to specific rooms, says Michael Thakur. Hopefully he's fired too. Julie, Michael, hopefully are all gone. Karen Gilbert, fired, hopefully. Brett Reynolds, hopefully being fired. Hopefully. Don't know if they're fired or not yet. Maybe Cash can answer that for us, or Pam. But here's another one from Brett, trial attorney over at the DOJ National Security Division. So Brett, yeah, great job raiding the former president's house. Great work there. Good job, Brett. Hey, attached is a track changes version with some comments and edits by me from Brett. Great work. So it's like, you know, a law review team sending articles back to each other. All right, good morning. Attached are my comments and suggested edits from Michael Thakur with track changes added on to the previous version sent. So they're updating the warrant. And here's another email that comes back from somebody. Says, this is the latest version. Washington Field Office and the DOJ and the Southern District of Florida continue to pass versions back and forth. After our pause and our concern about probable cause for any of the locations that are outlined in paragraph 67. We still don't know why we can go raid these rooms. So they're still talking amongst themselves, but we're not. FBI's like, we don't even have cause for this. What is the guidance for continuing to work on this document without any new information? Thank you. Okay. They're all racing forward to search everything, everywhere, anywhere that they want. This guy has a slight objection. What are we supposed to do? You have given us no new information. Everybody else is working on it. Washington, this is probably FBI, DOJ, CES. They're all working on this, but there's no cause. So then somebody else from the FBI responds to this. They say, hey, this person asks a fair question. You're all racing to draft this warrant, track changes and comments, and hurry, let's get this to Jay Brett. We haven't generated any new facts, but keep being given draft after draft after draft. This guy's like going nuts. Absent a witness coming forward with recent information about classified documents on site, at what point is it fair to table this? Okay, FBI agent. There's no materials that we can use to complete the search warrant to establish the cause that we need to conduct a raid. At what point can we just table this? There's nothing here. It is time consuming for the team, and it's not productive if there are no new facts supporting probable cause. Question? She sends that to all, and they're all angry. They go, oh, so she sent this, whoever sent this, sent it to the FBI, okay? They didn't even copy the DOJ, because the DOJ is the entity that really wants to race this thing through. The FBI is just being complicit in it at this stage. Gentle Core Lisa, FBI, she's like, yeah, I know. They're all FBI's talking amongst themselves like this is bad. So then they forward it on to somebody else. Hey, looping you in. Everybody's getting frustrated. Someone else at the FBI sends another message to another FBI person. Thanks. I had this exact conversation with Bob at our 9 o'clock meeting this morning. He seemed surprised that I would even ask. He relayed that conversations had been occurring, suggesting that we were making progress with the search warrant. So these lower level FBI agents go, they talk to Bob. Bob's like, what? You're having problems with this? How come? I thought you were making great progress on the search warrant, because they all are desperate for this. He says no further information, but they're like incredulous. You don't have enough. You can't rate him. So for PE sub-coordinator, they forwarded that one around, and that was that chain. All right, so we've got more to go. So FBI now not even believing, right? They say we don't have probable cause for this. It drags on for a few months. They continue to say we have no probable cause. They're investigating it. They're sending drafts back and forth. One half of the government is like racing forward, sending drafts. Let me change this word. And here's a better word too. But the FBI is like, we don't have any new evidence. Period. Now we get to another email thread and we start down here at the bottom. Let's make sure we're at the bottom on this one. Yeah, so that looks like it's the bottom. All right, so we're starting down here. Now, here is what this email says. From FBI agent redacted, August 1st, we're like 7 days away from the raid, happens on August 8th. They're still sending messages. FBI sends another one to Anthony T. Riedlinger, name unredacted. These are items for Trump's lawyer, Mr. Corcoran. Classification redacted. So here's a transitory record. They say, all right, Mr. Corcoran, items for Mr. They're sending drafts back and forth. They say, all right, hey, Mr. Corcoran, the DOJ and the FBI would respectfully request former President Trump's cooperation via Mr. Evan Corcoran, Trump's lawyer, in providing the opportunity to thoroughly search for any documents pursuant to our investigation. If enabled to effect a consensual search with the parties below, it would provide a level of comfort that the FBI has retrieved all the appropriate documents relevant to the national defense and the Presidential Records Act. Can we work with you on this? Just give us permission to come in and look around. And by the way, Trump already did that. So I don't think that he would have a problem with that. Now, if they're like, we want to go search in Melania's drawers, you would say, obviously not. That's my wife's closet. Get the hell out of there. And they did it anyways. So you see FBI is talking about this. FBI Washington field office. They're like, well, what if we just send this to him? Here's what we would ask. U.S. Secret Service security point of contact, because this is a presidential residence. They've got NARA OCG designated rep. Evan, lawyer, we would ask to search the Mar-a-Lago locations in this order of priority. First of all boxes or containers present in the storage room at the ground level of Mar-a-Lago, designated by a gold door, obviously. The 45th office at Mar-a-Lago. The Mar-a-Lago owner's quarters. All other spaces currently used to store government documents, including spaces temporarily or otherwise designated for off seasons. Any relevant local off-site facilities, including this location located at that address. Now, the FBI, they're telling Evan, we'll also come in and we'll look around for these materials. All classified docs that appear to be classified, any documents that fall within the purview of the Presidential Records Act, pursuant to witness testimony, detailing Trump's predilection to travel with his papers. This team would also like to request Evan Corcoran, the lawyer, speak with his client about those locations. Like, did he bring those to Bedminster? Did he bring those to New Jersey? Did he bring those to New York? That's what they're contemplating asking Evan for. And that's an email that goes out from one FBI agent to another FBI agent. Now, then we get, this is actually before that happened, on July 29th, before they draft that email, which looks like it's a draft of a request to send over to Trump's defense. Before that happened, Julie Edelstein, she sends another email to the FBI, copies a bunch of FBI agents and DOJ people. All of these people hopefully are being thoroughly investigated. Hey, blank and team. As just discussed with somebody, here is a search warrant draft with revisions, including to seek authorization to search the entire premises. Julie, scum. You'll, of course, want to review its entirety, but please in particular address the margin comments requiring input from the FBI as soon as you can. Thanks, from Julie Scumbag Edelstein. We're going to search the entire residence. Great. So then they forwarded it to Robert Stewart Sinton and others. Hey, forwarding so you'd have it. I'd imagine this will be a hot topic on Monday. Even Stephen D'Antuono is on that list. That's the moron who couldn't even explain what happened with the cell phone files and the records from the J6 attack that they conducted. I couldn't remember him in his testimony to Congress. Of all the days to lose cell phone records when you have a pipe bomb go off or about to go off on January 5th and 6th. Whoa. Shocked that he could, and overselling it, really, like bad acting. So July 29th, that was on Friday. Another email comes back. They're like, holy moly. So another one from Bradley Brooker. He says, good evening. It is my understanding that the assistant AG and the National Security Division reached out to the deputy this evening to discuss the search warrant. It appears that there is still an outstanding question as to the scope of the area to be searched, July 29th. Bob has taken a well-earned vacation, so I just wanted to reach out to let you know that I'm available anytime to discuss. Thanks, from Brad. So then FBI responds, hey, thank you, Brad. We're going to take a fine-tooth comb to this draft first thing on Monday for the facts as they are presented here. And we most definitely noticed that they widened the scope of the search to the whole stinking property. We are also going to have some internal discussions at Washington field office at the executive level. They're like, we don't think we can do that. I've passed the draft along to the special agent in charge and others to loop them in. And that's that thread. So we continue. And we get more. Starting now, here's another sequence of emails. This one, August 2nd. And the raid happens on the 8th. So here we've got the thread started. Per Julie Edelstein, scumbag, she just told someone, don't know who that is, hopefully we can find out who that is, so they're fired too, that the search warrant execution is Thursday, August 8th, clock ticking down. Washington field office, this guy, Tony, special agent in charge, she sends that. He says, we would like to propose a second path. Okay, how about we don't conduct the raid? He gets this email from an FBI agent. Per Julie, she told this other dude, they're executing Thursday. So then Tony, okay, maybe Tony doesn't need to be fired. Maybe, we'll see. He sends another email to George Toscas. Hey, hello, George. I believe you are on travel. My apologies for interrupting. Was everybody on vacation or traveling around? Blank was advised of the below by Julie. Said, just to recap from earlier, Washington field office has advised we will not do the search warrant unless direction is received by the deputy director. Okay. FBI's like, we're not doing it. There's no search warrant to execute here. It's bad. We need direction from the deputy director of the FBI or we're not doing it. So sends that over to George Toscas at the DOJ. Sorry for interrupting. He's fine. He's not doing anything. Just to recap, Washington has advised we're not doing it. Deputy director has to come in and tell us to do it. So some more emails go on. They're forwarding the emails. We don't know any of these people. Okay, who are the names? No idea. Forward. Then they log it into the file. A lot of tension out there. So then another thread happens down here. And let's start at the bottom. Or let's start up here at the top, rather. August 4th now. We're 4 days away from the raid. Sorry for all the scrolls. 4 days away from the raid. And they're adding the documents to the file. And here is what somebody from the FBI says. FBI, August 4th, 8:53 in the morning. They copy this to Anthony Riedlinger, FBI, and Stephen D'Antonio, the cell phone record idiot who couldn't figure out what happened to those. Plasmic echo. That's what they called this. Plasmic echo. All right. So good morning. I have a request ahead of the warrant operation planned for Monday. Because the search warrant operational plan has contact with the president's attorney as the first step, I'd respectfully request that the contact be handled by the FBI and not the DOJ. As the assistant special agent in charge who will be responsible for the execution of the warrant, this first contact will set the tone for the day. Okay, FBI's like, we got to go do this. Let us handle it. The FBI intends for the execution of the warrant to be handled in a professional, low-key manner. You're raiding Trump's house. Low-key. And to be mindful of the optics of the search. Yeah. Safety of the search team is always of a concern during any search operation. Yeah, man. And yeah, since we heard Mr. Toscas say yesterday in the call, Toscas said, the DOJ guy, he said in the call, he frankly doesn't give a damn about the optics. It's in quotes. That's what he said. Well, this is going to be like a big problem because you're raiding somebody, you're stealing documents from him and violating his privacy and abusing Melania's privacy, all because you're sick freaks, which I think they are. Like they have a love of power and a narcissism about them and an egomania where they think they're saving democracy. Like they say that we're saving democracy. So we have to do this. And they excuse their disgusting behavior in perverting our systems. But he admits it. Mr. Toscas hopefully is fired, hopefully investigated, hopefully indicted if he deserves it. He frankly doesn't give a damn about the optics. And Mr. Bratt, the other Florida Oompa Loompa, has built an antagonistic relationship with Trump's attorney over the service of this investigation. Because Jay Bratt, in our opinion, is a liar and a corrupt person too, because he was trying to convince Walt Naughta's lawyer, Stanley Woodward, to have his client lie, flip on the president and make something up. Just like Jocelyn Ballantine, another DOJ prosecutor who's still there, as far as we know, still working there, tried to get Enrique Tarrio, the Proud Boys leader at the time, to flip on President Trump, to lie about him. They're still there. At least Ballantine is still there. I don't think Bratt's there anymore. These are prosecutors. They're some of the biggest liars and the most corrupt people on the whole planet. But they can't even identify themselves as being corrupt because they have a DOJ badge. And that DOJ badge apparently just completely scrambles your brain and you no longer have a soul anymore. But I think it is more than fair to say that the DOJ contact with Mr. Corcoran just prior to the execution of the warrant will not go well. He's not going to be happy about that. So the DOJ said as much yesterday. So don't let these scumbag DOJ people handle this. Let the FBI handle it. I also think that it is fair to say that if the FBI calls, having in mind officer safety, which to optics of the search, and I mean, from our perspective, it's an illegal search warrant. Kash Patel just said that. So if you're getting raided by armed officials, they're raiding your property to steal your property and to abuse your privacy and to violate your wife's closet. And you don't know what's going to happen, but they don't have lawful purpose to be there. Kash Patel confirmed that. FBI agents confirmed that. You can take it from there. And the desire to conduct this search in a professional and low-key manner, there is a far better chance that the execution will go more smoothly, and we may actually gain some measure of cooperation, which could go some way to resolving the mishandling of the classified records investigation that is being conducted. I understand that this request may not go well at the DOJ because they just want to make it hurt. They're like, we're in power now. We're going to wreck Trump. However, it is the FBI serving and executing the warrant, and it will be our personnel who will have to deal with the reaction to that first contact. Please let me know what you think. And we think you're all scum. Okay, that's our reaction to that first contact. You guys were going along to get along at the FBI. Just nobody wants to step out of line, and so you all were playing in this scam. You're all responsible for it. It's like felony murder, right? You don't actually pull the trigger, but if somebody else pulled the trigger and you were just the getaway driver, you're still guilty of felony murder. It's the same thing. This is a felony violation of liberty. Assistant special agent in charge sends that out, and we get some more emails back and forth. He's like, all right, maybe we can just talk to them because they're going to be so mad. Here we fast forward. Now we see July, actually we go backwards, July 20th now. So some of these are out of order. Or it's just the way that they're assembled in the email change. But here is another message. This message comes from an assistant special agent in charge in Washington, and they've been reticent this entire time. So they say, all right, here's an update. As everyone is tracking, Washington field office does not believe and has articulated to the DOJ, we do not believe that we have established probable cause for the search warrant for classified records at Mar-a-Lago. There it is, as clean as day. Washington, this is July. When did this come out? Around this time, July. I don't know that there's a date on this. I think they redacted it. Derived from, declassified on. We can say this is July 20th. Okay, so we're just weeks away from the raid. At this moment, Washington does not believe that we have probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago. Simple. In email, in writing. The DOJ, of course, these scummy prosecutors, has opined that they do have probable cause. They want so much probable cause that they're going to search everything, residence, office, storage space, everything. And they did. So in the Washington FBI's opinion, if a primary goal of this investigation is to identify and recover classified records quickly so as to protect the info, the 6 weeks spent fixated on probable cause for a search have been counterproductive. If you're really worried that somebody's going to go see these materials, just go ask them. Go knock on the door. Continued investigation and additional interviews have not found any witnesses who has reported seeing classified records at Mar-a-Lago since they gave us other records back on June 3rd, 2022. No cause at all. DOJ, Pam Bondi should be right now combing through every single person who touched this case, and we should have an update from her and the DOJ and the FBI about whether they're still working there or not. It's a personnel matter. I don't care. They're criminals running around in our government, writing memos like this that are completely ignored. How more clear can you be? There is no probable cause. The DOJ overrides. So Washington, the FBI, suggests an alternative, less intrusive and likelier, quicker options for resolution. All we want to do, even the FBI saying this, request the DOJ contact Trump's lawyer, Evren. Washington, our FBI division, has developed no information from a witness who has observed anything. Okay, we have nothing. A reasonable step would be to recontact the lawyer, inquire about any further documents. Washington has made numerous suggestions to the DOJ over the course of this investigation that the best way to handle this, if you really want the documents back now, just ask him. They don't really want the documents back as much as they want Trump prosecuted for having the documents. FBI's like taking them at their words. Like, oh, you want the documents? Well, I'll just call them and ask for them. Well, we don't really want the documents. We want him to say you can't have the documents so we can raid him and then charge him with a crime and then hit him with whatever the number, 13 counts of classified documents, national security secrets, all day, every day for years. The DOJ has persistently disagreed. And you know who is behind the DOJ? Yeah, Merrick Garland and Joe Biden and Lisa Monaco. And none of them have been brought in for questions. None of that. Jack Smith is sitting down tomorrow with Congress. We'll see what he has to say. But otherwise, no, as long as you just worked at the DOJ, I think Lisa was going to go work for Microsoft or something, get paid a fat check after scamming the country. Now, further, in the letter from the DOJ requesting any remaining documents be secured, Washington has information that Corcoran, Trump's lawyers, this is the FBI writing, not Trump's team, that Trump's lawyer took steps to comply. They actually put a padlock on the door. They're doing whatever you ask. They'll await further instruction from you. Those instructions were in the letter. We sent them a letter. They complied. Further instructions, says the FBI, is a logical and most expedient opportunity to follow upon and request a consent search, or we develop more information that's actually legitimate. But right now, in our opinion, this is the FBI, moving from a letter to a search warrant after 6 weeks leaves far less intrusive options off the table. The DOJ is like, yeah, we know. Shut up. You don't need to explain it to us. All right. We know. We don't really care about the documents. We want him charged with multiple felonies. Now, how about another option is just talk to his lawyer. Trump stated at the time Washington got the last documents that he is willing to assist and cooperate. He said that repeatedly. So logically, if we have additional questions about the location of classified documents, he would be a witness to interview. This could be posed to Corcoran. We could just ask him. Or if those fail, we could also just ask for a new referral from NARA. Okay, we've already gone down there with NARA. They got documents. They gave them to us. We can just do that again. If NARA pursued presidential records, which might still be there, then we can just go pursue that. They could recover any additional records like they have before. But we asked to do that. FBI Washington went to the DOJ, said, can we just ask again? No, we were rebuffed. Based on the latest version of the draft search warrant, the DOJ is now including, look, classified records or presidential records. So stuff that's not even classified. That's not even a problem. They just want to go get the files back. Now, having developed no new information about anything classified, this change would have the FBI executing a search warrant for presidential records, which is in NARA's purview. It's not ours, but they're including it. Now, they also could go other ways. Mark Meadows has been interviewed. Mark Meadows is the likely person that might know anything about this. So, and by the way, right, it turns out like they found some classified materials down there, which were his. He's allowed to have those. He can declassify them. He's the president. He's got constitutional rights to the documents of his cabinet heads in writing. It's in the Constitution, and had the right to have them. But if they wanted to execute a valid search warrant, they could go find some other witness, which they did not have, that said, oh, I've seen those documents. I know where they are. Boom. They couldn't. They also went after this person, identified as a person who may have knowledge about what's at Mar-a-Lago, and they were going after like busboys and everything. Washington continues to work on scheduling this with her attorney in the DOJ, but a proffer from the lawyer says, no, this person has never seen anything. They also went after body man Nick Luna. He may know where the files are, and he's got a lawyer too. Washington has repeatedly asked the DOJ to facilitate read-ins with the White House General Counsel on these documents. That request is outstanding because they want to raid. Now, Washington has requested to return the classified presidential records recovered via this person in June back to NARA. And we've been told to stand down by the DOJ. And they said, nope, those files can't go back over there because there is a potential for leaks. Yeah, and there's a lot of rumors here. You know, we don't really know exactly the full scope of everything that they seized after they raided his house, but many people are saying Trump may have taken with him some Crossfire hurricane evidence. So they needed to go get that back badly because they're in big trouble, or should be in big trouble. Of course, nobody's in trouble right now. James Comey's case got dismissed, even though he lied and obstructed the Congress, but he's running around free on the seashore looking at seashells. So here we have more. July 29th, days before the raid happens, we have a full-blown memo, multiple from the FBI, saying we've got no basis for this at all. And another email comes out from the FBI to other FBI agents, 3 of them right here. They say, hey, forward, just an update on our check-in with the DOJ. They say, team, please read. No forwards, no conversation with where those without NTK or present. This is a tentative warno that blank may be traveling to Florida at the end of the week. Monday, we're going to need to focus on the blank 302 search warrant updates. Let's meet Monday morning after / with caffeine in my office. Have a good weekend. Here, if you need me, and we'll pass along the other items relevant necessary. So you've got all these, fat, ugly FBI agents who are sitting around drinking coffee, scheming on how they can raid the president's house after having communicated with the DOJ. Now, here's another letter. On email. July 29th, 4:33. As the day comes to a close, FBI agent to a bunch of other FBI agents about this check-in. Now, after speaking with this person, I did not plan to bring up the FBI's desire to call Evan Corcoran prior to the execution of the search warrant. Special Agent in Charge Redlinger and the assistant director in charge will be calling the DOJ on Monday to do this. FBI saying we're going to get the DOJ to give us permission to initiate this. Jay Bratt, the DOJ prosecutor who ended up on Jack Smith's team. Remember, Jack Smith has not been appointed yet. Jay Bratt goes to his team. All of this work, he just picks up, takes right over to Jack Smith's office, and they lied to all of us for years saying he's an independent, he's a special counsel, he's independent. No, he just inherited this under a fake set of rules that allowed him to do whatever he wanted. And he did. So Jay Bratt relayed Matt Olson has been instructed to move the search warrant forward. Hopefully Matt's also fired. In the deputy director's call with Olson this morning, Jay was aware that the deputy director asked about wanting to re-interview Walt Nauta. Walt Nauta was Trump's body man, essentially, like his assistant down there who traveled with him and did a bunch of stuff. To facilitate an interview, Jay called Walt Nauta. His lawyer called Stanley Woodward. Stanley Woodward, I think, is now the AAG. Isn't that amazing? I think he's the associate AG, Stanley Woodward. So, oh, how the tables have turned. So Jay Bratt, the Jack Smith prosecutor, called Walt's attorney. Nada is not available this weekend, and the attorney asked if Walt's status had changed. Like, is he going to flip on Trump? Jay advised in the broadest sense of the DOJ's definition, Nada was now in the subject versus the witness arena. So your client, Walt, better flip on Trump or else we're going to prosecute him. And Jay also offered, Stanley said, if you get your client to flip, we'll make you a judge in DC. And Stanley's like, that's a bribe and you're disgusting. Now he's the assistant AG. Yeah, good call, Stanley. To which the attorney was not comfortable representing Walt and would need to bring in another criminal attorney. The lawyer's like, oh crap, you're going to charge him? I can't handle that. Bottom line, there will be no interview of Walt Nada in the future. So then Jay Bratt advises the DOJ that they're going to be looking for clearance to move forward with the search warrant on Monday. If all additions have been made or shortly thereafter, with execution to follow towards the end of the week or as soon as possible. As I said above, I did not mention the ask about calling Corcoran because I think it is best to make the ask straight away. Otherwise, this will go up the chain immediately. So I tried to bring up the future mishandling case, but I was shut down there. Everyone should be focused on the search warrant and not anything else. FBI to the FBI. I explained I wanted the team to be moving the case forward so that after the search warrant, we aren't asked why other steps haven't been taken yet. I think it is time to have someone in the Office of General Counsel make a call to this person about the read-ins. We are awaiting a final version of the search warrant with the CCTV footage review included. I will try to answer any questions, but that is the most everything that I know. And that is the game. So that's the end of the emails. And you see in here, the FBI is basically begging the DOJ, can you just do anything else? We don't have a basis for this. And the DOJ just kept extending and expanding the scope. It goes from a couple locations to the whole property. It goes from classified documents to even presidential records. They say, hey, just call his lawyers. They'll just let you in. They said, no, we don't want to do that. And the FBI was basically begging, can you please just, not do this? And some FBI agents were all in, it seems like, but others were reticent and they were hesitant to take this thing forward. But unfortunately, the DOJ is filled with scum, as we saw in these emails. And Jay Bratt and Julie Edelstein and Thakur and Brett Reynolds and all the rest of them were here. They had one mission in their minds, which was to take out Trump. And they executed it aggressively. This was just one of 4 criminal prosecutions. Then we had civil investigations, Letitia James. We had E. Jean Carroll. They threw him off the ballot in Colorado, had to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. These people are sick. And they were getting away with it. And they are getting away with it. Actually, nobody's been indicted. Nobody's been prosecuted. There are almost no consequences for this at all. In fact, Lisa Monaco and many others, they leave, they go get very high paid, prestigious positions for mission accomplished. Your job well done. You did our bidding. You corrupted the entire entity. And now you're going to get a reward. And until Pam Bondi or Kash Patel do anything about this, they are winning. Just to be ultra clear. Like, we can know all of this. It's great. I'm glad we know about it. Transparency is a beautiful thing. We want to see it. The public needs to know about it, but we do need consequences for this. Otherwise, we're just transparently watching criminals get away with their crimes. So hopefully Pam and Kash are paying attention. Now, FBI Rapid Response also posted this, and I think this kind of illustrates the point. FBI Rapid Response, one of the dumber accounts that we've seen recently. They can redeem themselves, but I don't know who's running it. Whoever it is not doing a great job. But approximate document productions to Congress by the numbers. James Comey, 3,000 pages. Wow. Chris Wray, 13,000 pages. Wow. Kash Patel, 38,000 so far. Wow, that's great numbers. Good job, Kash. Turn those files over. Yeah. Can't wait to read more documents here. So we understand that that's better than less documents. But just to be clear, like on numbers that really matter, Chris Wray, want to add those numbers up? Well, his FBI was responsible for about 1,500, give or take, J6 arrests. Yeah. Yeah, they put Bannon in prison. They put Navarro in prison. They tried to put Trump in prison 4 times. So a 1,500 arrests by Christopher Wray of Christopher Wray's innocent political enemies. And Kash Patel, we've got 0, really. We have 0. So we also want to keep those numbers in context. So you can keep saying these numbers all day, FBI rapid response and like percentage, down 13%, down 15%, blah, blah, blah. There have been no arrests for any of the people who raided Trump's residence, who rigged the election, none of the COVID prosecutions, none of the J6 attacks, the list goes on and on. So we appreciate that you're being transparent about it, but as far as it sounds, you're just being transparently ineffective, quite frankly. We can read all the documents in the world, but if nothing happens, then we're just reading, I guess, documents, and it's not even really consequential. So we'd like to see more. And hopefully this is the beginning of that. And I'm just agitated and irritated based on what we read right now. But this is the first step. And so hopefully this will marinate over there in the DOJ and they'll do something about it. But by the way, Congress can't prosecute anybody. They can't. They can make a criminal referral, but they can't prosecute anybody. They would make the criminal referral. You know who they would make it to? The DOJ, and the FBI would investigate. So it's great. You sent it over to Congress. They can't do anything. You've got the files. Maybe you should make a referral over to Pam, and initiate prosecutions for these people, or at least FBI rapid response. A nice response would be everybody in these documents has been fired and they're gone. And we're opening investigations into them. Yeah, the number doesn't matter if you still haven't released the truth about this. Can you actually arrest anybody, or are you just like releasing documents? Because that's a nice skill, to release the documents, but we want more out of that. So Trump responded. He said, "Can anyone believe that the unselect committee of political hacks and thugs illegally and criminally deleted and destroyed all information having to do with their investigation into J6? We just talked about the Mar-a-Lago case today. The J6 case was a total scam. The reason they did this is because it all came out my way. I was proven innocent. They were proven to be liars and cheats. They must be held accountable and pay a very steep price." And a steep price is not having some live streamer read through the documents on the internet. Okay, they don't care. That's not of any consequence to them. So there needs to be real repercussions. Donald Trump is in alignment with that belief. And so we'll see what Pam and Cash do. It's a good development. Chuck Grassley's not going to do anything about it. Can't really do much about it. Hold some hearings, call some people in for some conversations, but that's about it. We want justice. We want prosecutions. And these people who are in this scamming the whole process should absolutely be held accountable. And we're going to keep screaming about it until they are. All right, now let's turn our attention over to the backdoor judge, because we are back in trial and it is day 2. Trial day 2, the backdoor judge facing 2 charges, obstruction and obstruction, I believe. Very similar. One was concealing, one was obstruction. That's right. Judge Dugan back on trial, 2 counts, 1 obstruction, 1 concealing an illegal alien and letting him use her back door. We've got the latest here, some updates over from Milwaukee. And here is some photographs that have also been shared with us. Some people took the stand today. This is a federal trial, so we don't get any live video footage. We got to just kind of read what the reporters are saying happened there. But we've got a full breakdown over here from Fox 6 Now over in Milwaukee. And we also have the trial excerpts, courtesy of Adam Klasfeld, who is reporting there from inside the courtroom. And we'll get into the excerpts starting now. We're back in trial, day 2. Back on the stand is Baker. Baker's on the stand. He's about to get cross-examined. He's one of the FBI agents who was reassigned to the case, or to ICE, in particular, removal operations. Defense attorney representing Judge Dugan asks him a question. All right, FBI agent. Do you think that your position from an FBI agent to working on deportations, would you call that a downgrade? Baker said, no, I don't think so. I would disagree with that. Dugan's lawyer called Nicole Masnica. She asked this guy about FBI surveillance. Says, well, were you monitoring him? We had vehicles that were at Mr. Flores's legal location. That day it was raining. There was a lot of rain. And we saw a vehicle leave the residence. And there were 5 agents in the courthouse but there were also other agents driving around and involved in surveillance. He says, well, the 5 that were with us were part of the arrest team. But yeah, it was a much bigger operation. Prosecutor comes back and asks about prior arrests. So you've done this before? Yeah. You've arrested other people at the courthouse? Yeah. At any point when you made these arrests, did you encounter a judge? No. And so some people were part of the arrest team and others were not. Some people were part of the investigation team. Can you explain that? Okay, so maybe you would say that guy was a part of the arrest team. Okay, so 6 people? And he says, yeah, well, a larger team makes the operation safer. We just have more people, more eyes on things. Okay, great. Nothing further, Your Honor. You can step down from the stand. Next witness. Your Honor, the prosecution calls FBI agent Philip Jackling. Philip Jackling stands up, walks up to the bench. Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I've got. I do. Following trends in this case, he was also reassigned. He's now working on ICE. Man, shout out. We need all the ICE agents we can get. Jackling, they say, okay, you've been with the FBI a long time. Yeah. And you changed positions. Yeah. What are you doing now? This. What is your day involved? That. All right. And so what happened on April 18th? Well, we were there conducting immigration enforcement pursuant to blah, blah, blah. And our plan was to arrest Ruiz after he had come to court. So we'll show up, do his hearing, and after he leaves, we'll pick him up. Now, the moment that we tried to arrest him, it was very rainy. It was April 18th. And I was the guy who actually arrested him. So remember, Judge Dugan let him use her back door. He escaped out the back of the courtroom, runs down the street, fleeing away. He chases him down, arrests him. Well, how'd that go down? Well, I walked out of the courthouse and I said, Ruiz, FBI, and he started running. He's gone. He couldn't even get the I out and he's already gone. Oh, so did you arrest him? Did you tackle him? He says, no, I didn't. It was ultimately another agent that got him. He's faster than me. Got a bad knee. Dugan's defense then takes the podium on cross-examination. And they say, all right, FBI agent, I want to ask you about this chat group called the Frozen Water Chat Group, which is a euphemism for ICE, just like our chat group called People Who Watch Things. Frozen Water Chat Group that was used by the federal agents to the witness. Says, all right, FBI agent, does the FBI recommend that you use a Signal chat app to discuss sensitive information about an arrest? The defense is turning it into Signalgate. He says, I have since learned that they don't recommend that. No, we really shouldn't be texting in Signal. Now, one chat participant, they said, well, we've got all your chat messages, so let's go through them. One chat participant called DEA agent called Brian Ayers, he used a profile picture of a skull over a coffee cup with hypodermic needles as crossbones. Man, that sounds badass. Another unidentified participant, a profile picture of a skull over a coffee cup with hypodermic needles as crossbones. Let's go. What kind of needles? Steroids? Another unidentified participant in the Frozen Water Signal chat used an avatar of a man licking a gun. Well, that's a little weird. So here's a reminder. Frozen water equals ice. Wow. So that's good. Jackling, this agent, he says the arrest team tried to fit in the courtroom hallway, but the defense attorney says they did a bad job. We tried to all fit in there. He's like, well, you guys did a bad job. He says, you obviously stuck out in the hallway and people started taking pictures of you, didn't they? Yes. And I want to show you some of this surveillance footage of the federal agents purportedly trying to fit in and act normal. And yeah, we saw the video. They're kind of walking around. Looks like a bunch of like feds outside the courthouse. Like what are all these dudes walking around here? Like, you guys have cases here or what? Seeing the surveillance footage of the federal agents, like, yes, yeah, they're pretty obvious. So testimony ends, 10-minute recess, and we're back. Prosecution calls, Your Honor, Joseph Zura. Joseph comes up. I do. A supervisory special agent. What do you do? I work at the supervisory agent for where? Customs and Border Protection, CBP. How long you been there? More than 20 years. Anything else in your history? Well, I worked for about 10 years in the Joint Terrorism Task Force, the JTTF. And back on this day, April, what was your role? Well, I was on the arrest team for Flores Ruiz. I was one of the guys who was here for that. And he was charged with 3 misdemeanors at the time. And here, this is like a big deal. Adam Klasfeld, who I believe, to be fair to him, I think he's probably on Team Doogie, but we appreciate his reporting. Says, asked whether the Department of Homeland Security authorizes Signal to communicate, he says, currently, yes. Adam's like, red alert, Signal Gate, oh, Pete Hegseth. Relax, it's not that exciting. The prosecutor shows Zero surveillance footage of Judge Dugan approaching him. Doogie walks out in her robe and is like, she asked if I'm there for court or if I had a court appearance. She's like, who are you? You here for a case? Like, no. Why are you here? After he said, no, I'm not here for a case. Get out of my face, you giant judge. He said that Doogie told him to get out or leave. So once the judge asked if you were here for a case, you said what? No. What'd she say after that? Well, she told me to get out or to leave. Now, on the video, Dugan gestured with a thumb over her shoulder in the videotape. Get out of my courthouse. You can't arrest illegals here. Question. At any point, officer, did you hear Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge, Chief Judge Ashley, say that you could not make an arrest in the public hallway? Did anybody tell you couldn't do this? No. I thought I could. We were here. We've done it before. Thank you. No further questions. Defense cross. Thank you, Your Honor. Doogie's lawyer, she takes the podium. She's, all right, Mr. Zero, I want to ask about security screening and the court officer's comments after they were shown your credentials. When you came into the court, initially they said you needed an escort, right? Yes. Now, Doogie's lawyer continues on. She says, and you never made any mention about what exit he took into the public hallway. He says, okay, I didn't say that. I didn't say where he left, but okay. That's true, right? He says, yeah, I didn't explain where he went. That's fine. Now, during cross, Zara also conceded that the chief judge never gave any definitive answers about whether they could be in the courthouse affecting arrest. So she's just trying to kind of, twist him up. Doesn't sound like it's very effective. No further questions. Next witness. Your Honor, prosecution calls ICE deportation officer. His name is Joseph Vasconcelos. Vasconcelos. Don't know. During the course of my duties, Mr. Vasconcelos, can you tell us what you do? Yeah, I'm an ICE deportation. How long have you been doing this? I don't know. Okay, during the course of my duties, I've been shot at. I've been stabbed. I've had nerve damage in my neck from fighting with illegals charged with arrest, targeted for arrest. Violent people. That's why they need to go. The prosecutor goes through a bunch of rehashed ground. Witness says the following. Yeah, the courthouse arrests are safe because of security screening. We know that they're not going to have any weapons. We know that they're going to be checked. They're going to be on their best behavior, and larger arrest teams enhance safety. That's why we were all here. Judge interjects. I've heard this before. We're kind of getting repetitive here. Yes, Judge. Thank you. We're just going to a couple more questions with this witness and we'll wrap it up. Now, Adam says prosecutors have prompted these points from every government witness, apparently trying to sell and normalize this practice. It's not controversial, Adam. It's perfectly reasonable. These are illegal aliens who beat people and they got picked up. So they have a lunch recess. Adam Klasfeld, if you want to go check out his full work, it's at allrisenews.com/subscribe. So check that out. We appreciate the reporting. And it continues on. So they take a recess. We're back. 12:55. Lunch is over. Officer Vasconcelos is back on the stand. Cross-examination from Doogie's lawyer begins. She highlights the fact that you needed an escort. So did you need an escort? Because some people say you didn't. Was there confusion about that? He says, well, I think so. Maybe there is confusion. So did you communicate that information to Agent Baker? You texted him, right? Yes, I did. And then they admit this text message string as an exhibit. Doogie's lawyer shows the text message. This guy says, this is going to be a pain in the nuts. Except not the nuts part. Probably it is. The guy ran away. Nobody could foresee that the judge was going to let him use her back door. So he had no idea what he was even coming. Next witness, Milwaukee County Circuit Judge called Cristela Cervera. Wow, they're bringing out another judge? Oh, Doogie is going to be very upset about this. They're going to be enemies for life. So they're like sitting in the same courts. I think she's a circuit judge, maybe Milwaukee County. So same court, they just go find a different judge. Cristela Cervera. This is smart. They bring her on. Hey, judge, question for you. If as a judge, you personally disagree with the law, are you free to ignore that law? She says, no. Well, how come? Well, I'm sworn to uphold the state and federal constitutions and the laws of the state of Wisconsin. Looking at Doogie, just like you should have done there, Doogie. Now, Cervera says that arrests take place in her courtroom 2 to 3 times a week. She's like, they pick them up all the time. I don't go out there and bark at them. Shown security footage of Doogie and Cervera exiting into the hallway. The prosecutor asks if she was hesitant. There were 2 of them. So she was the other person in the robes who came out with Doogie and was scolding the ICE officers. You went out with her. Were you hesitant to walk out into the hallway? She says, I was, yeah. Well, how come? Well, it's unusual to wear robes in a public hallway. Yeah, because she's trying. Yeah, judges don't walk around in the hallways ever. Out at courts. Almost never. You never see them out front in the public. So she wore her robe to put pressure on the ICE. I'm a judge, you know. You have to listen to me. Does a judicial robe signify a certain degree of formality and authority? The judge says, well, to me it does. And I'm sure to the public it does too. Yeah, you're a judge. Yeah. Asked about officer and the Vasconcellos' demeanor, the judge Cervera says he was cooperative. Now, Dugan, on the other hand, had her frustration progress into anger, says this judge. No, the ICE agents were very cordial. But Doogie was turning into the Hulk. Doogie repeatedly told Vasconcellos, this other officer, that he needed a judicial warrant. Is that right? Not an administrative warrant? Is that what he said? Yeah. Were you comfortable or uncomfortable with Judge Dugan's tone? Well, I thought she could be a bit more diplomatic at that point. Dugan could have, quote, calmed things down, but she was outraged. She was just fumed. So what happened next, Judge? Well, Doogie referred the officers to the chief judge's office, and I escorted them there, Cervera, the judge. Now, there was no policy that would require you to accompany the officers to the chief judge's office. Is like a policy or something? Correct. No, there's no policy for that. Now, Cervera said, what happened next? She explains. And how did you feel when you learned that this illegal was racing down 10th Street and had to be tackled by the FBI? She said, I was shocked when she learned that there was a chase. Well, why were you shocked? Cervera says, judges shouldn't be helping defendants evade arrest. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, man, Judge Dugan is not inviting Judge Cervera to her birthday party. Cancel her invitation. So cross-examination begins. So Doogie's defense, this is great. Doogie's defense lawyer comes out and says, all right, Judge. Did you ever tell Doogie you were uncomfortable? No. Did you ever tell her that you thought that she was being bossy? No. Asked if she told the officers Dugan was right about the warrant? Cervera says, I did. Yeah, I did. Oh, so they did need a judicial warrant. Cervera warned her sister also that ICE was coming to the courthouse. And I don't know how that came up. Asked whether it was a coincidence that her sister had a hearing in the building the next day. Cervera said, I didn't even know. If she did, I wasn't even aware of that. Now, court breaks early, 4:30. That's the case. Just less than a dozen witnesses into the government's case. We got maybe a dozen more, at least 25. See you back here tomorrow. Thank you to Adam Klasfeld for the reporting on that and that good X thread. Now, another take over some of the highlights that went down, written in a little bit of a different format. We'll fly through this, see if we can fill in any gaps that we may have missed with the reporting from Klasfeld. We got a 13-person jury brought in sharp 9 a.m. Judge Lynn Adelman says, we're going to try to keep things moving along over here. Nicole Masnica cross-examined Baker, talked about ICE arrest, second arrest at the courthouse, got all that. He also testified that they were conducting surveillance outside of his home the day that he was scheduled to appear. We did not make a positive ID of the guy who left the address, so we didn't conduct the arrest there. We waited to the courthouse. 9:18. Now, Baker said that he and other agents at the courthouse were confused. We were sitting outside in the hallway. Dugan came out, directed them from the main public hallway to the chief judge's office. He said, this is the first time I've ever experienced something like this when doing a courthouse arrest. Some lunatic judge comes barging out like the Kool-Aid guy. While in a vestibule area outside of the chief judge's office, this guy, Baker, said he did not see Flores Ruiz and his attorney leave into the public hallway, exit into the public hallway, and couldn't recall what happened next. Defense comes out, Dugan, and is questioning him about saying he ran after this illegal. Video was shown in the courtroom, and he said, I remember running at some point, but I may have made a mistake in my report. Baker testified that agents were communicating with one another, and that's how they tracked him down. He ran across 10th Street, was taken into custody, testified additional agents were outside, and he was seen on video, which we saw a lot of, on his cell phone. He says, I wouldn't have been on there for personal reasons, but I don't know who or what I was communicating with. I don't remember at the time. So that's the cross. Agents also became separated. U.S. Attorney asked Baker after the cross on redirect, what is the team comprised of? He says 6 people. We were separated because Dugan ordered us to the chief judge's chambers. Now, more exam. Attorney Kelly Brown Watzka, she's the DOJ prosecutor, comes out and questions Jackling. He says he primarily investigates violent gangs, but it had been assigned to immigration this month, or since February for this month. And we did have an administrative warrant to arrest him. Now, more. Jackling says he identified himself to courthouse security. He walks in. He was in plain clothes, armed with his service weapon. When he and a fellow agent went to the 6th floor, they told the bailiff, hey guys, we're here with FBI and ICE. We're going to be arresting this dude after the hearing. Tells the bailiff. Special agent and fellow agent were sitting on a bench when Dugan came up to them. She said, why are you here? They said, we're here to make an arrest. Do you have a judicial warrant? He said, no, we don't. We have an administrative warrant. Well, how did Dugan sound to you? Very direct. And, quote, he said, testified, she seemed upset. Then we were ordered to go down to the chief judge's chambers. And after that, I never saw the backdoor judge again. 9:52. They say, we felt uncertainty about this situation. And ultimately, I never knew where the illegal went. He ran out. That's the end of my involvement. Then there was an arrest outside. We got that testimony. He said, hey, Flores Ruiz, FB, and the guy's running. He said he was involved in a foot chase, but a different agent ultimately tackled him and brought him into custody. Then defense attorney cross-examines him. He said, it's new to me that someone like myself would be involved in this, but I'm new. They asked him about the signal chat, about the icons, the image icons. One, a man licking a gun. Guns are cool, but I don't know if you really need to lick them. You know, that's one thing I never thought about. But government redirect, agents' efforts to be discreet. He said, I never heard, nobody told us of any policies that required us to check in with the judge. Nobody told us that we couldn't do this, so we did. Bailiff then speaks to the agents. During the government's redirect, this guy Jackling testified that the bailiff informed him that he had not alerted Dugan about why the agents were there and that the case was being pushed through. The defense crossed him, recrossed. He testified that he had prepared to testify, but he had to be reminded about what the bailiff told him. All right, so here's one person. FBI Special Agent Philip Jackling testifying. We've got more. Then we get this other guy, Joseph Cera. I really want to zoom in on the judge's testimony. But Cera comes out. He's with CBP. Primary role to assist with these investigations. That's what I do. Went through the courthouse. Went to the 6th floor. Talks about the signal chat. Video, they play through it. And he's texting in the chat group. Now, Dugan came out to talk to these people. Cera said that he heard Doogie speaking to 2 other agents who were seated across the hall from him on that day. He said he recalled hearing the judge ask, are you guys here for a court appearance? They said no. So she got visibly upset and got very direct. Then told them to get out or leave and to go down to the judge's office, which they of course did. Then they get separated after she pulls them apart. Defense comes out on cross-examination. Then the defense attorney questioned him about how he exited. And he says, well, I didn't see how he exited, right? That's like a key part of this case is what door did he use? So this one agent said, I don't know where he went. On redirect, Frawling asked Cera to reiterate that he was 2 sets of doors away when he emerged. Okay, so he's like, he couldn't have seen him. That's why he doesn't know. So here is this guy testifying, Joseph Cera. ICE, government calls an ICE deportation, Vasconcelos. He comes out and explains how they got their warrant. It sounds like biometric confirmation and more. Now he testified, and then we get to the judge. He says he had previously had an administrative warrant and effectuated one in this courthouse. Nothing like this has ever happened before. He got a message, exited into the public hallway, and then was following the illegal. Now, while on the phone with Ashley, Vasconcelos said the chief judge was aware that a warrant had been presented. He asked the chief judge if the conversation could be moved to a private area. He said the chief judge told him that he'd been sitting on a draft policy, but it hasn't been sent to ICE yet. So he goes and talks to the chief judge. Great. While he's talking, Doogie lets this illegal use her back door. We have a lunch break. We come back. He's back on the stand. They're talking about what he showed him actually after they got the guy, and testimony continues. And that's all we got. We got no judge updates. Let's refresh. Oh, there's Doogie. Yeah. All right. So now we've got even more. Brian Ayers. We had a lot of testimony here today. Cassandra. Judge calls for a break, 10-minute break here. Court's division. I wanted to see what this judge said. MCSO. Judge Cristela Cervera. Okay, so let's dig into this one a little bit further because this is some good testimony here. And Dugan notifies the fellow judge. Here we go. 1:25 p.m. this afternoon, attorney Kelly Brown calls Judge Cervera to the stand. She has been a circuit judge in Milwaukee since 2021, pretty new. She took an oath not to prejudge a case. Cervera says that judges are assigned to a specific docket. This was a misdemeanor court, so she was assigned to misdemeanors as well, Judge Doogie. She says, well, once you pass through security, technically anyone is free to enter the courthouse for any reason. So yeah, FBI agents can come in. Cervera said that there are restricted areas like a judge's chambers, but otherwise anybody can come in. So like ICE is not prohibited from coming in the building. Government asks her, how was your morning that day? Well, I was pretty busy the morning of April 18th, but I don't recall how many cases, but there were a lot of people coming and going. They play for her the surveillance video. She testifies that she and Doogie walk up to the agents. Agents did not draw her attention at that time. At that point, she said that she and Doogie had not yet conducted court business for the day. Then Cervera says that Doogie came into her courtroom and summoned her. She's in a separate court. Doogie Kool-Aid guys it right into her courtroom. You're summoned. We have a problem. She said that she was concerned something happened. So they went into her chamber. She's like, what's the emergency? Well, Cervera says Doogie came in and said, ICE is here and they needed to check a warrant. So come and help me. She was not sure why Dugan involved her and described her demeanor as urgent and irritated. over some illegal alien who beat people who were victims in her own courtroom. She's flipped. Doogie, if you're so tough, just go out and talk to them yourself. You don't need to bring a friend with you to the bathroom, baby. So here is more. Doogie and Cera, they go and talk to the agent. So this other judge, they ask her, is your judicial robe a sense of authority? Yeah. And I felt uncomfortable wearing it in a public hallway. It's not common. When's the last time you saw a judge walking around a courtroom? Never, unless they are taking the bench. Doogie testified, or the other judge testified that Dugan asked agents who they were, told them to identify themselves. They said, we're here for an arrest. Dugan quickly repeated 3 times. Do you have a judicial warrant? No. Do you have a judicial warrant? Do you have a judicial warrant? Cera said she didn't see a warrant, but the interaction happened very quickly. Dugan flipped out, said, go to the chief judge's chambers in her robe. Now, Cera said, I'm not familiar with immigration law, but under the impression based on Dugan's actions that the agents did need a judicial warrant. So she thought, I thought that they did need one. I don't know. She then helped escort an agent to the chief judge's office. She says, well, I thought that they were going to, she's like, don't indict me. I thought that they were going to go show them the warrant. Cera says she looked back and she did not see Dugan and was amazed that Dugan was not even following them. Like Dugan comes, drags her out of her court. Come, I need your help. Then she just summons her to take them off because Dugan has an obstruction charge that she needs to go accumulate. Cera said an agent presented a paper warrant once they were in the chief judge's office and looked at it while they waited to find out who they could talk to. And meanwhile, Doogie's letting this illegal use her back door. After leaving the chief judge's office, this judge walked through Dugan's courtroom where Dugan was already conducting court. So now this judge is like, what the hell? You're going to pull me off the bench to run your little errands for you? You take the ICE agents down to the chief judge's chambers. I got my own docket to handle. It's ridiculous. She goes back and Dugan's like playing video games in her courtroom. Like, hey. Cera said an attorney later told her one of their clients was arrested. And we know what you guys were trying to do. Yikes. The judge testified she did not know what they were talking. She's like, what? But the chief judge later filled her in what happened. Cera said she was shocked to hear that. She was mortified, the other judge, that someone might think she was involved in helping Flores leave court through a restricted hallway. But you did help. You didn't know exactly what you were helping, you say. But you were a co-conspirator in this effort. Maybe unintentional or unknown, but you helped. So here she's like, I was horrified. She testified that this is like damning testimony. This is bad for Judge Doogie because you've got another judge who's like in the next courtroom and the jurors are listening to this. Wow. Like another judge is testifying against this judge. That's bad. Cera testified that she was aware of a draft policy that was circulated, but nothing binding about arrests here. The judge, and we've said this many times, but the courts could avoid all of this. These locales could avoid all of the courthouse arrests if they would just hold illegals who were charged with crimes in custody. Not every illegal alien. They always say, we should only focus on the criminal illegals. You can help us. Just hold them for an ICE detainer. Then they'll have all of their due process. They can challenge their removal and their deportation and all the things. They don't want that to happen. They just want illegal aliens here. Criminal illegal aliens, all the better. They don't even care. The FBI will let them go. So she's freaked. Cera said Dugan later told her that she was in the doghouse with Chief Judge Carl Ashley because she, saying something to the effect of, tried to help that guy. She said she took that to mean taking the man through the restricted hallway out her back door. So I think what they're saying is that Doogie was in the doghouse with the chief judge, Carl, because she tried to help that guy, the illegal. So things are messy in this court. Nobody's going to anybody's Christmas parties this year. So the defense comes out that now this is a defense attorney cross-examining a sitting judge in the same building as Doogie, saying, all right, Stephen Biskubik comes out. Now she testified that she had allowed certain people through. So have you ever let anybody use your back door? She's like, yeah, I have. I don't want to talk about it. But I have. I let attorneys use my back door and had not but would allow a defendant through that hallway under a unique set of circumstances. Yeah. Yeah, and defendants, depending on the courts, depending on how many number of doors there are, some courts have a judge's door and let's say an in custody door, but they go basically to the same hallway in many courts that I've been in. So like you might have in custody defendants who are all brought in handcuffs, and they take the jury panel and the court calls their cases for in custody proceedings, but they use a side door that's in the back that the public doesn't use. So defendants can come in and out of that courtroom. These were not in custody proceedings though, by the way. These were actual, not in custody. These were people have been released, including this illegal alien. So yeah, defendants definitely don't use that door often, but I could see a defendant using the door. And again, I don't think that is the crime. The crime is using the door to escape. That's the obstruction. If she said, hey, I've got a real special circumstance, like I have a young defendant who maybe can't understand, I need to go explain these things to this person back in the chamber. So bring your, prosecution, defense, bring your defendant. Let's do like a little impromptu settlement conference. Come back into my into my chambers, and we'll do this off the record. Something like that. That's very different than letting him escape the friggin' courthouse. So the judge testified that she thought Doogie may have been right when she told agents they needed a judicial warrant. She also said she was not informed that the federal agents were in the hallway, which the public uses to get both Dugan to the courtrooms. Now, apparently she alerted her sister, this judge, who is a lawyer, that ICE was in the building, and admitted she was warning her sister in case she had clients. What is it with these judges? Oh, so she is obstructing. She's terrible. So she's warning her sister, who's a lawyer, ICE is there, so that her sister can obstruct federal ICE agents. These people are sick, man. They're judges who are supposed to enforce the law. That just wrecks everything that we just read from her. So great job. She's like no different than Doogie. Maybe they should indict her too. Cera testified that Dugan asked her to help keep her robe on and was trying to be respectful, though she was uncomfortable because Doogie had been on the bench longer. Now, Brown Watska questioned Cera about this unique set of circumstances. And she said, helping a defendant escape arrest doesn't meet that criteria. Okay. That's not a unique set of circumstances that ICE is here. So here's the judge. She's got 2 counts, obstruction and concealment of an illegal. So the government calls other people. They call the Milwaukee County Sheriff's officer to come testify. Supervisory role. They have security checkpoints. And do federal agents need an escort through the courthouse? This guy says, no, they don't need an escort. No escorts at all. That just got smashed. Nice try. A brief conversation with Doogie. Now, DeSmit said that Dugan told him it was illegal to arrest people in the courtroom based on a Supreme Court decision. Which one, Judge Dugan? Which one? He said it surprised him and asked her to cite the case. So she could research it, but he never received anything about the case law. What a liar. This judge sucks, man. Well, it's based on Supreme Court precedent. Well, what's the case? I'll send it to you later. Klein Smith versus Watkins. Okay, yeah, sure. Whatever. So, liar. So Sergeant learns of a restricted hallway use. He says, yeah, arrests at the courthouse are common. Happens all the time. I've conducted arrests here. Well, would you be concerned if an illegal defendant was allowed to use a jury hallway and then that had restricted access to the public so the ICE people couldn't get there, and then that illegal escapes? What would you think about that? He says, I would be flabbergasted. Tremendous word. Prosecutors and the judges went into chambers. The defense raised an objection. They came back to the courtroom a little bit later. See, they go back into the courtroom. So DeSmit said, nope, I've got no statements that we can't arrest people at courthouses. We do it all the time. And then he got cross-examined. Shout out to that guy, David DeSmit. Shout out. So judge calls for a break, 2:54. Government calls another person called Cassandra in. She's a field assistant director. Yeah, here we go. She says that Milwaukee County does not honor ICE detainers. This whole thing could have been avoided. Anytime some illegal alien lover Democrat says we should be focused on the criminal illegals, ask them why various states don't hold on to the criminal illegals. How come they don't do that? Yeah, because they don't care about that at all. They want illegals here, period. End of story. If they're raping your daughters or throwing your sons over bridges or whatever, they don't care. And stopped honoring detain. And I'm sorry to say it. It's true. It's sick. She said that they have been able. This guy literally beat other people in Doogie's courtroom and she still escaped him. They're sick. So yeah, we can do these things. And if they would just hold on to them, then we could arrest them without any of this stuff going on. And said she testified that Ashley, I think the chief judge, emailed her about a proposed policy. She got emails, but I didn't know anything about any drafts before that. They explained the different policies that can be in place. There's a cross-examination. Don't know anything about those prior arrests. Here is ICE Operations Director Cassandra. Then the agents were split out. Another person comes in, Brian Ayers, special agent with DEA. He provided extra help. He said we spread out on the 6th floor. We were on signal. We were trying to be covert and this judge outed us. We were in a vestibule area moving around a lot. Another agent got in an elevator with this dude. Ayers said he was informed that a judge was speeding Flores Ruiz along. ICE agents say, man, they're pushing this case through. He went back out the public hallway and saw the illegal with his lawyer. He slowly started to follow them because he did not want to be obvious. He was concerned that he might run, which he was right. He did run. There was only one other agent in the hallway at the time. The rest were near the chief judge's office. Now, Ayers at this time did not attempt to arrest him. Once he was outside the courthouse and we got reunited, we announced ourselves. FBI, gone. Special agent said it would not be ideal to conduct an arrest on his own, so we had to wait for other people to come. Defense attorney comes out, cross-examines him. And you only had an administrative warrant, right? Yeah. I was waiting for the green lights, and ultimately we got that. Wow, okay, now the victim's witness advocate takes the stand. And remember, this illegal alien beat people. They were in the courtroom as victims. Victims have rights too, not just illegals. The government called Nile Hendricks Whitmore. She's a victim's witness advocate. There with the victims that this illegal beat. I think strangled. Less than a minute into her testimony, Dugan's defense requested a sidebar, freaked out. As part of her training, she says, well, I shadowed another victim witness advocate that day as well in the courtroom of another judge. So I've been doing this. Says, yeah, victims do not always come to court. And when they do, they're not always comfortable for a variety of reasons, since the person who beat them is seated right there. She accompanies victims at court for that reason, and she explains what they can expect. Now, she said that she would be seeing victims for cases in this courtroom and other courtrooms, and they, bounce around. Hendricks testified that the victims that she was assigned to work with in that day were victims in this illegal's case. She went into Doogie's courtroom before any cases were called so she could meet with those victims before going into the other judge's courtroom. And she let the prosecutor know, the assistant DA, that she was there. And I'll be working with these victims as this proceeding happens on this day. Of course, that proceeding never happened because Judge Dugan continued it without even calling the case. She testified that she was working with victims in another case when she saw Doogie and another judge in their robes walk out into the public hallway to confront them. She said she had not seen judges in judicial robes in hallways before because they don't go out there for that reason. Later that morning, she was informed about what happened in the courtroom. She said that Doogie and the other judge, Cervela, seemed not angry but frantic when she saw them in their robes in the hallway. After the illegal left the courthouse, this victim's advocate, Hendricks, she said that she received a text message from an assistant DA asking which victims were present for this case. She said federal agents never asked her to produce the message in their investigation. And this is Judge Doogie. And that's the case. That's the day. So we'll probably pick back up with more from this victim's advocate, which I can't wait to hear more from her, because the victims were re-victimized by this judge. Judge Dugan didn't even give them their opportunity to be present and heard in the middle of this criminal prosecution because she was too in love with illegal aliens. And so was the other judge. These judges, man. Cera, she better be very, very, very careful because she is a co-conspirator in this case. And apparently she's also texting her sister to obstruct other federal ICE agents. And if it's happening here, it's happening around the rest of the courthouse in this court and around the country. We have judges who are supposed to be enforcing and upholding the law, applying the law appropriately, and they don't. They actually hurt their own constituents in favor of foreign invaders. It's a sick thing. So that's what happened today. Here was a scene of Dugan getting out of her car this morning and waddling into court.
Morning, Judge. You plan to testify?
She's not going to testify. I doubt it. Maybe she will, but I doubt it. But that's the case. And so pretty damning testimony today. I think that the big one was from that other judge who was like shocked that she was even being brought into this before admitting that she was also alerting other lawyers about how they can obstruct ICE agents. So the whole city, the whole courthouse seems like it's just infested with disgusting judges, but maybe it's just these two. I could be wrong. But that's day 2 of the trial, my friends. We'll be back with more. We'll see what happens to the backdoor judge. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, now, one final update on the day, and then we'll hear from you. Here is what this one says, courtesy of Linda McMahon. Tim Walz must resign immediately. That's what Secretary Linda McMahon is saying in this letter over to the governor. He, of course, in the middle of a Somali fraud scandal to the tune of billions of dollars. But now there's more to the story because apparently in Minnesota, they had almost 2,000 what are called ghost students. You see this. And those ghost students get a bunch of money in the form of grants and loans. And what do 1,800 ghost students earn? $12.5 million that are also stolen from these fictitious people who may not even exist. And so Tim Walz is in big trouble. He's got Linda McMahon after him. He's also got Brooke Rollins sent another letter. Multiple agencies are investigating him and his fraudulent state that has been riddled with Somali thieves. And now it's time for an inquiry. So from the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. All right, the Honorable Tim Walz. Dear Governor Walz, the integrity of America's federalist system, where governance is a partnership between the nation, the federal government, and the states, it only works if state leaders uphold justice and common sense. Leaders too, but you also need a good population, like a population that understands a federalist system and agrees with the federalist system, understands things like natural rights, Bill of Rights, and has a shared interest in the fabric of America. That's also important for our system to work. When you bring in a bunch of foreigners who don't have any of those same values, beliefs, or even competency to live in a society like that, the whole thing starts to break down. So when states abuse their authority to oversee free and fair elections, to enforce criminal law, to distribute entitlements, which we have a lot of, or other public benefits, that system of states' rights and liberties, that relationship of trust falls apart. All right, Tim, you've been the Minnesota governor since 2019. And during that time, your careless lack of oversight and abuse of the welfare system has attracted fraudsters from all over the world, especially from Somalia, to establish a beachhead of criminality in our country. So good. As President Trump put it, you have turned Minnesota into a fraudulent hub of money laundering activity. It is a beachhead, and they've got Congress people now. At the beginning of this year, the Department of Education became aware that fraudulent college applicants, especially concentrated in Minnesota. Yeah, we've seen some of that community. We're gaming the federal post-secondary education system to collect money that was intended for young Americans to help them afford college. The Somalians stole it. We call these fraudsters ghost students. They were not ID verified and often did not live in the United States at all, or they simply did not exist. In Minnesota, we found 1,834 ghost students were found. They got $12.5 million in taxpayer-funded grants and loans. They collected checks from the federal government, shared a small portion of the money with the college, and pocketed the rest. Never even went to college at all. So to stop these ghost students, we at the Department of Education implemented enhanced fraud controls like mandatory identity verification. You're kidding. Never did that for first-time student applicants. What a great idea. Wow. Check to verify who a person is before you hand them out tens of thousands of dollars. Our new fraud prevention system has now blocked more than $1 billion in attempted financial aid theft by fraudsters, including coordinated intentional fraud rings and AI bots pretending to be students in Minnesota. Absolutely insane. So page 2 from Linda says, even one of your state's top elected officials, Ilhan Omar, has sought to take advantage of this taxpayer by advocating for broad student debt cancellation, which she has publicly acknowledged will benefit her directly. She's like, I don't want to pay my loans. She borrowed tens of thousands of dollars to attend a college as a politics major, which I did. I was a political science major too. It's like, wow. Major that she now does not think she should have to repay, despite her generous taxpayer-funded salary. Well, Ilhan wants everything for free. My colleagues in other federal departments have uncovered massive scandal of welfare fraud in Minnesota, where you have done absolutely nothing as governor to stop this criminal behavior. Scammers have gotten rich off federal housing, education, food stamps, small business programs. They're defrauding our elders. They're defrauding our autistic children. And we can't talk about it because we're going to be bigots. So joining these criminals in their schemes have been Minnesota politicians like Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar, who benefit both in votes and donations from this support, like the radical Islamic terror groups overseas who get Minnesota money to kill American service members, which has happened. Minnesota and their political elite has turned a blind eye. And they even help facilitate the laundering of the money that was meant to help America's least fortunate. Shame on you, Governor Walz, for allowing this to happen and for benefiting from it. Stop defrauding American taxpayers. No politician is above the law. And my department, alongside every other agency under the leadership of President Trump, will continue to ensure that you will not be able to dodge accountability for your actions. And given your dereliction of the office entrusted to you by Minnesotans, I implore you, Tim, to resign and make way for more capable leadership. Sincerely, Linda McMahon. That was a burner, Linda. That was a burner. We appreciate that, man. Linda needs more responsibility. We want more letters like that coming out of our government. So here's another one. Secretary Brooke Rollins. She says, hey, Tim, you're in big trouble there, bucko. There is nothing you can do now that changes the fact that you stood idly by as criminals stole millions from the American taxpayer and hungry families. All the Somalis. The attachment and the attached requires you to verify SNAP participants in the next 30 days. So you better do it or just cut the whole state off. Here's what we got courtesy of Brooke Rollins. Dear Governor Tim, she didn't say honorable because she's right. She says, all right, Tim. Tim's catching it from multiple people. You know, amid highly publicized and ongoing fraud affecting federally funded benefits in Minnesota, multi-million-dollar feeding our future fraud that exploited SNAP and other things, we are hereby requiring Minnesota to participate in a pilot project. We're going to be trying this out with your Somalis to increase the efficiency of SNAP and improve the delivery of SNAP benefits to eligible households. More accurate certifications of eligibility of SNAP recipients will ensure that those in need actually get help and not these thieving Somalis who are trying to rip our country off. Pursuant to this pilot project, which will be run on a trial basis, starting with you in Minnesota are hereby required to perform the following actions. Number one, Conduct recertifications within 30 days of receipt of this letter of all SNAP households in Hennepin, Ramsey, Washington, and Wright counties. Every 30 days, you're hungry, go re-up your food benefits. As part of the recertification process, ensure that SNAP households in all of these meet all actual requirements. We're going to account for income. We're going to account for resources. We're going to conduct in-person interviews. We're going to use federal eligibility tools like the SAFE program and find out who needs this money, allegedly. Upon review of the information obtained, we're going to make determinations and we're going to unenroll any ineligible households. And you're also required to document and preserve all your info. Anything related to your members and excluded household members, you must preserve all of your files because we want to look at them. Now, failure to participate in this program, in this pilot program, will trigger non-compliance procedures according to U.S. code. And if you don't comply, it may also affect Minnesota's continued participation in SNAP. Your whole state is going to get cut off. So hop on board or feed yourselves. Thank you for your continued work because we're tired of paying for it. We're tired of our money being ripped off by foreign invaders and illegal aliens and pseudo-illegal aliens who are establishing a criminal beachhead in America. So you're cut off. And if you're not going to help yourselves, we're not going to help you or enable you to rip us off. So if you or your staff have any questions, please have your staff contact us at this email address. Sincerely, your friend, Brooke Rollins, Secretary, U.S. Department of Agriculture. So nice updates there. Of course, we pay into the federal benefits and the SNAP programs, and then they dole it out to the states. So if thousands of Somalis are all taking it fraudulently, just cut the whole state off and see what Minnesota has to say about that. So here is more. You can see that we had a short update over from Fox News. They had a nice graphic here explaining the connections between all these scammers in Minnesota.
Under the nose of Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison. We see a web of connections between them and those directly involved in the fraud. For example, Ilhan Omar alleged enabling introducing the 2020 Meals Act, which was ultimately subject to fraud. Held a campaign victory party at the Safari restaurant. That's where one of the men who run that restaurant has associations to the convicted individuals. And then there's Tim Walz. House oversight investigation role in his role as governor, or Keith Ellison, the attorney general. His job is to enforce the law in Minnesota, but instead he's getting donations after meeting with the Feeding Our Future representatives. The Feeding Our Future, the biggest known yet part of this entire fraud.
Money goes back to their campaigns.
Theft ring. The executive director of Black Lives Matter, by the way, over in Oklahoma City, has now been charged with wire fraud and money laundering. The organization raised more than $5 million in 2020, but she is accused of pocketing more than half of that instead of using it to bail out people for protesting in support of BLM. No, she pocketed, allegedly,
and went to Jamaica.
Most of that money. Oh, by the way, here she is. You want to see a picture of her?
Jamaica.
Here she is. Notice who she's in the picture with.
Oh, it's Ilhan.
That's right. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. But hey, it's just the system, right? Let's bring in our...
Yeah, it's just the system. And she's entitled to it, okay? Because white people have been so bad to her entire life. So she had to eat a couple of white people and then take a trip down to the Dominican Republic on BLM money. So here's more. We saw House Majority Whip called Tom Emmer coming out, calling out Tim Walz, and here is what he had to say from the Republican press briefing today.
Which brings me to addressing the failure of my governor, Tim Walz. We anxiously await Tim Walz's response to House Oversight Committee Chairman Jamie Comer regarding what he knew about the $1 billion in fraud. Walz has had 7 years to address and stop the fraud. It wasn't until President Trump made this a national issue that Walz started to pretend that he cares about his constituents.
And he's doing that. I got a clip.
Supporting a terrorist group in Somalia. Accountability is coming, Governor. Our dishonest, failed governor must and will answer for his complete incompetence. Which brings me to
all right, so that is the Republicans in Congress talking about this. And then Tim Walz was out today. And you can see all these scammers are all back there and they're freaked out a little bit. So they're now talking about banning assault weapons, which is interesting because the only people assaulting Minnesota are the Somalis.
There's too damn many guns and the wrong types of guns on the street.
No, there's not. There needs to be more. Everybody should be mandatory gun ownership in America.
And I don't want to hear how do you define assault weapon. I damn sure can assign what it is and describe what it is and tell you what it does.
You guys can't even define your own genders in your political party. So this is what they're doing out there. Not even worth listening to the rest of him, but they're talking about guns. He's signing executive orders on gun violence when he really should be working on the billions of dollars that are being ripped off by foreign invaders called Somalians who have come in here to establish a criminal beachhead in America, according to Secretary of Education Linda McMahon. So now Tim Walz, under the scrutiny of multiple federal agencies, he should resign. If he had any honor or integrity at all, he would have resigned a long time ago, but we don't have much of that in American politics these days. So we'll keep our eye on this. Hopefully more investigations open up, and I'm sure there is criminality there all over the place. If Pam Bondi and Kash Patel want to pad their numbers up, they should just go right into Minnesota. Start there. All right, my friends, it has been a beautiful stream today. Thank you for joining us. Quick recap if you're just getting here. We talked about the raid on Mar-a-Lago and what a rigged, fake prosecution the whole thing was. Multiple emails and bits of evidence from the FBI showing they did not even think that there was probable cause there. Said we're not going to execute these warrants and this raid until the DOJ came in, put their boot on their necks and forced them to do it, essentially. Although many FBI agents were complicit in it. They were sending messages back and forth like, we need caffeine in our morning meetings while we orchestrate a raid illegally. So we talked about it. Some very good stuff inside of this. The whole Biden DOJ was corrupt. Many of those people are still there. There needs to be a flushing of anybody connected with any of these things in the DOJ or the FBI immediately. They're releasing a lot of information. We're happy about that. Great job. But we need some consequences as a result of the transparency. And Kash and Dan are in charge of these agencies. And so some friendly, constructive encouragement to do more than just disclosing documents. Hopefully they do. President Trump agrees. This wasn't a direct text message to Pam Bondi this time, but it's pretty close. So we went through that. Then we had some good updates with Judge Dugan. I thought the testimony today was pretty dang good. That Cera, that other judge, saying she was horrified to realize that she's a co-conspirator in obstruction of ICE. She better not do that again. No more text messages to your sister, Judge. Anyways, good testimony, trial day 2. We'll come back on that tomorrow. Then we saw Linda McMahon obliterate Tim Walz, saying, shame on you, Tim. You should resign immediately for enabling almost 2,000 students to get federal aid or local aid to the tune of $12.5 million. We also see billions more siphoned off because of the SNAP program, other educational benefits, healthcare, all the things were getting ripped off. Now the Trump administration is peering into it, and the beachhead is in Minnesota. And I think Tim Walz and Ilhan are a good place to start, along with the rest of the BLMers. So good updates today, my friends. Dugan, Somali fraud, Mar-a-Lago raid, and Trump will be back tomorrow with an Oval Office address. And I think tomorrow morning, Fani Willis is testifying. So we might want to go live a little earlier tomorrow morning and cover some of that testimony, because that should be good. Election fraud and Fani Willis and all the things. So we may be doing that. So about, I think it's 10 a.m. tomorrow is when Fani will be testifying. I had that saved somewhere. I think Fanny's testifying. What did I do? That's not my bookmarks. Let's check this over here. See if I've got this saved. Yes, I do. Georgia Freedom Caucus. Okay, so I think we might go live early tomorrow if you care to join. Thanks for subscribing and hitting the notification button, because this is happening 10 a.m. Eastern time in Georgia. Fani Willis should be there. So about 8 a.m. Arizona time. And it should be live. I think this is going to be live. So if it is live and everything is cooking, we may come back and want to just go through that, because that should be pretty good. So that, my friends, thank you for subscribing. Thanks for hitting the notification bell. We may be live tomorrow morning to go through that. If it stays on, we'll see if Fanny shows up or if there's any last minute changes. Sometimes there are. But tomorrow, That should be good. I think it should be public. Anyways, it's been a beautiful stream. Thank you for all of your love and support. I think I saw some donos and some new membos come in. What a lovely, glorious day it is. What? This is a toilet. What's going on over here? Let's see who's here in the house on the day. Man, we got a bunch of new membos coming in. Yeah, here's Tim Walz. Yeah, Tim, there's something strange about that dude. No doubt about it. Mock Schnell. Great to see you, Mock Schnell. Hey, Rob, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. The liberals have made a crap hole since the late 70s. I know, San Francisco, like the city in and of itself, there's so much history there, like rich history. It's a beautiful town. It's like up and down. There's hills. It's right on the bay. It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous town. Setting aside all the California liberal insanity, like there's a lot of, it's beautiful. And they've wrecked it. It's really a sad thing. But for the DEI stuff, as you said, sometimes you have to be quiet to get the needed training. A person who got a D does not get the good jobs. Yeah, from Mock Schnell. Thank you, Mock Schnell. So this morning we were talking about that. Talking about, how do you navigate a world that is filled with DEI? So a community member was going through a DEI training this morning and shared a slide with it, a slide of the training from us, and we were just kind of making fun of it. And another community member was saying, how can you even work there? Like, how can you sit through that and like be indoctrinated with this crap? He was saying, I couldn't do that. I'd be out. I would have, left and gone. I wouldn't do that. And so you can understand both positions. And I was explaining how, like when I was coming up through law school and through college and even high school, how you learn to kind of hide your power level a little bit. And I learned that pretty roughly my sophomore year. I had a teacher who almost failed me. It was like a big year-end project. I did this project on Coca-Cola, the company. And I thought it was a great project. One of the best things I've ever put together. But that was not the point of the assignment. The point of the assignment, which I didn't even understand apparently, was to like rip on these companies, to like say Coca-Cola is like exploiting labor and Coca-Cola is like being mean to the people in South America or whatever. I didn't approach it that way at all. I was like, this is a great American company. Like Coca-Cola, look what they invented. They've changed the whole world. They've got I was like talking about how amazing it was. She did not want that. The professor wanted you to rip on Coca-Cola and talk about how devastating they were to everybody and all the things like exploiting, like, corporate greed, capitalism. It was a social justice teacher. So she came in after I turned my assignment in and she scolded me in front of everybody and was horrible to me. I was like a sophomore. I'm like, what the hell? And so that's how I got my dose of like understanding how you have to navigate some of these systems in order to succeed. So yes, it's true. Like, so then, in law school, you kind of hide your power level. You kind of hide your true beliefs until you earn your freedom to get away from those people whose acceptance you need in order to get through the system. So like my analogy was, you change your behavior when you're hanging with your bros than when you hang with your mother-in-law. You change your behavior when you're in a debate with friends versus when you're in a courtroom, right? I say certain things here that I wouldn't say in a court of law because there's rules of procedure and you can get sanctioned, all sorts of things. So how do you navigate this world when you have to, stay true to your ethics and your morals, but you also need to accomplish certain things and the system is set up a certain way. So I agree, there's a real tension there. And part of my journey has been, I want to be able to achieve more freedom in the process. So eventually you get out of law school, you succeed, and you accumulate more impact than your law professors. So your law professors were trying to nudge you into being this liberal, whacked out attorney. Many of them fall to that pressure. Many people do. But once you get out of that, then you can use all of the tools that you just accumulated to beat them. So it's a complex world, no doubt about it. And it would be great if we didn't have to, sit through DEI trainings and things like that. But sometimes you need to in order to achieve your end objective. And if that makes you more powerful and gives you more utility than you would have otherwise had, then maybe it's a trade-off, especially if you can use your new power to go back and fix those perverted parts of the system in certain domains, right? That's like for law school or university. But quite frankly, you don't need those things. I mean, I've told a story of other, like I came up in construction, and you really don't need to, you really, I guess you do. You gotta have to still sell a construction project, So anyways, it's a great debate. It's a great conversation. And we're all, I think, trying to live with integrity and truth and honesty. But sometimes you got to sit through a slide presentation from some HR psychopath. Thank you, Mock Schnell. The Mirror Man, 50 membos coming in. The Mirror Man. Good to have you here, Mock Schnell. Thanks for bringing in 50 new friends. Let's welcome them. Canester, RM is here. Brad Thorne, what's up? Home Z Maker. We got KJ Lane, Phoenix, Z3, Wendy, YC. We got Mike Bennett, home in Montana. William Bolick, Luis Manuel Vizcano Gouveia, welcome. Uncle Bubba, Odin Kez, Crazy Sammy. We got Chuck Reardon, Brent Brock Smith. We got Snuggle Struggle, Celsify, John Morris, welcome. Julius VC, Robin Williams. We got Ruffin Sanderson, Slayman, Handy Dandy, Sunfish, Fish Ventura, Kathy Henderson, Ashley Cooper, Trey Hughes, Callum Hokett. What's up, JT and some change? SCJDG is here. Just Mojo. We got Dumb Dem Policy says what? Yeah. Terry Hendricks, Jeannie B, David Putnam, Indy. We got Ricardo Robertson, Stephen Beaver. We got Jade Mouse, Furry Pets, Hunter Stafford, George Norman, Brian Boss. We got Doan shouting out Mock Schnell, Michael Williams, Just Rhonda, welcoming new membos in. We got Hate Chad 1, Hate Chad here. FW 1129, Michelle Bannon. Banna. We got the Duchess of Picture Rocks. And Mock Schnell, Mock Schnell, super generous today, Mock Schnell. Thank you for that, brother. Super nice of you to do all this. Thanks for bringing in 50 new membos. Newest of membos. Grab the members only morning stream from this morning. It was great. And Mock Schnell, big super chat. Thank you, Mock Schnell. Hey, just wanted to wish you and Alexis and all the watchers a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Mock Schnell. Thank you for being super supportive, my friend. Very, very nice of you to do that. And we really appreciate you bringing in our 50 new membos, all of whom we expect to see tomorrow morning on the members only stream. It's mandatory. So, Mock Schnell, thank you for doing that, my man. Merry, Merry Christmas to you. Very much appreciate it today. Chubby. Okay, so they had no probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago, but they still got a warrant. Sounds like the judge that signed that warrant should be impeached and removed. Yeah, Bruce Reinhardt is his name. I remember it. Garland charged and prosecuted. Any and all agents involved should be fired at the very minimum. None of which will happen, but it should. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. It's like, well, Rob, I didn't know that this was happening. I know, but you were involved in it, so you have to go. Sorry, it's just how it is. I can't entertain everybody's excuses. There's a concept in this in the law, it's called re ipsa loquitur. Re ipsa loquitur. Nobody knows how to say it. All lawyers say it differently, but it's called res ipsa loc. RESIPSA loquitur. LOQUITOR. Re ipsa loquitur. It's Latin for the thing speaks for itself. And we've talked about this. It comes up in civil liability, but like if you work at a warehouse and a refrigerator falls off a conveyor belt and smashes a dude's head and he dies, you don't really need to prove negligence because you can just walk in and say, oh, a refrigerator fell on the dude's head and he's dead. So it kind of explains itself. Like, don't really need to do a full investigation. Was that negligent? Should it have fallen or what? No, refrigerators shouldn't fall off the belt to hit humans in the head. The fact that it did is a problem. Same thing with this. You were on the team. You allowed it. You didn't object. You kept going. Yeah, but it's my job. That's true. It is. You had to do it, but we don't have to keep you here. So go find another job somewhere else. Jim tells you what's up. Hey, you are better than anyone on any cable news channel at covering these legal affairs, from Jim tells you. Well, yeah, thank you. That's a really nice compliment, Jim. I appreciate that. I think they don't have the right format. Like, how can they cover these things? They really can't. You can get 2 minutes at a time of anything substantive. Most of it is just, high speed, high paced, surface level slop, really, in many ways. And like, I watch it. Like, I appreciate that. Sometimes I don't want to go dive deep in. I just give me the highlights. 2 minutes on this. Oh, next story, 5 minutes. Next story, 5 minutes. Next story, 5 minutes. Okay. But we really get the ability to spend 2 hours on these things as we've done today. So Jim, we couldn't do it without you. Thank you for being a member for 4 months and watching, sharing, making this possible, because it's hard to get it anywhere. It's hard to get it anywhere else. So we appreciate all the law tubers out there who are digging into this stuff. Hey, facts matter. 39 months as a membo. Rob, it's obvious you're married now. Look at that office decor. I know. I was thinking about that too. How many Christmases have we had here without a Christmas tree? I think all of them. Because I was a single man, but now I'm not anymore. So that's good news for everyone. Rob, it's obvious you're married now. Thank you. Yeah. Who's awesome? James is. James, you are awesome. I love that show. Whose line is it anyways? That show is great. Those guys were so clever and quick. James Vickery, hey, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to the Gouveia family of Rob, Alexis, and Mama G. Many blessings to you all. Hey, and here's an update too, James. Alexis, her license is now officially Alexis Gouveia. We went down to the MVD today, and we got that done. So it's real. It's a real thing now. Alexis Gouveia. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful ring to it. I like it. Hey, James Vickery, 308. Thank you for that. Mama G, Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year to you. We're going to be doing New Year's in DC this year. So we'll do some live streaming out in DC this year. It'll be fun. Hey, Darren McNeil, 28 months as a membo. Been here for 28 months and is just now saying, hello, everyone. Hello, Darren. Great to see you. I think you've said something before. It's just kind of a funny comment. 28 months as a membo. That's 4 babies? 3 babies? Something? I need a spreadsheet. Thank you, Darren. We appreciate that. PD Dunn is in the house. Hey, keep it up. Yeah, that's bicep pair, man. That's our favorite day. Bicep day, which is every day. Don't let anybody tell you need a rest day from bicep day. That's just fake news. Diane K. Lacey. Yeah, I know. With no probable cause, but they authorized the use of deadly force. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Diane. Merry Christmas to you. 2 months. We'll have a full baby here. And it is pretty amazing. And I remember there was a lot of drama about that. Like people were saying, well, that's how every search warrant is written. They all say deadly force. I don't care. This is the former president of the United States. Change your standard language, okay, before you raid his house. And if you had no probable cause and you have illegal invaders who are coming to steal your property from you and wreck your privacy, maybe there should have been some a harder line drawn before letting them come in and execute their fake search warrant. Mizzy M. I'm not following the show as well as I could because, well, I'm multitasking and distracted. But thanks for keeping up with the news for me. You're welcome, Mizzy M. Of course, no problem. Yeah, no problem. Sometimes it's just good background noise just to hear me screaming at the FBI agents or whatever. I do that a lot too. I do that with a lot of audiobooks, actually. I think I'm going to listen to this audiobook. 2 hours go by, I'm listening, haven't retained a single thing, but it's nice to have on in the background. Maybe you're learning something by osmosis. I'm saying to myself, Quadcam. Hey, after seeing those email chains, it makes me wonder if Axios released that flushed documents nonsense article to give them a witness of illegal docs at Mar-a-Lago. Exclusive photos, Trump's telltale toilet. Man, I don't even remember that. Remember the toilet sweep? Maggie Haberman saying they found wads of paper clogging a toilet. That's some FBI agent who took that. Or like Caitlin Collins is like, throw it in there and took a picture. So thank you. I don't even remember that article. Rob, they are going to get away with it because of the leftist judges in the judiciary who will dismiss all the cases. It's happening already. They did it with Comey and Latish. It's a judicial coup to protect the deep state, which Schumer, which is a part of rigging judges. Yeah, it is a judicial coup, Rob. It's been going on for months now. Hey, Sharpie guy, great stream, Rob. Like I said before, the freaking swamp runs deep. Still doubt how much will come from it, but let's hope Trump manages to drain a bunch of it, right? Right. That's right, Sharpie guy. We need Trump, of course. It would be very nice to have Congress and some help from the other branch that we currently control at the moment as the Republican Party, whatever the hell that is. But it is deep, man. It is deep. And people who go there to like reform the system, for some reason, seem like they just get subsumed by the whole thing, just consumed. They become it. It's gross. Hey, Rubos, President Trump says everybody should pray that the United States Supreme Court has the wisdom and the genius to allow tariffs to guard our national security and our financial freedom. Trump posted today, numbers recently show that tariffs have reduced the trade deficit by more than half. This is larger than anyone, except me, projected, and will only get stronger in the near future. Everybody should pray that the U.S. Supreme Court has the wisdom and the genius to allow tariffs to guard our national security and financial freedom. There are evil, America-hating forces against us. That's true. Many of them working in our own government and in our own cities and governors of states like Minnesota. There are evil, American-hating forces against us. We cannot let them prevail. Thank you for attention to this matter. Make America great again. This one from Shino. Hey, that's Elmo. He does not look like he's in a pleasant position right now. Or maybe he's excited. It's my time to shine, guys. What's up, Shino? What's up to our friends on Rumble, man? Thank you guys for watching over on Rumble. Very nice to see you over there. B Money, Donnie Poe Twin. We got Neuro D Ma on the fourth down. J Ma, B Job Secure. B Job Secure in the house. Good to see you. We got Shino says, hey, now we can clearly understand why the dumb Democrats picked Timmy as Kamala's running mate to burn down the country in case Kamala didn't have the stones to do it. Good to see you, Shino. It was a really nice gift to all of us because now we can focus on this beachhead of criminality. And I saw that Kamala is thinking she's going to run again, which we also support. I don't know if we support Jasmine or Kamala for the Democratic presidential primary. I think Jasmine is the better pick for them, but I see what you're saying. Like Kamala, she's terrible. So if she's a communist, so if she loses, that's okay. She's got another Chinese educated communist in Tim Walz who can slot right in there. B Money. Where was the Inspector General's office in all of this ag and snap at the AG and snap? Probably investigating Trump's documents or Trump's January 6th comments or something. Jennifer, B Job Secure is Jennifer. Thank you, NeuroD, for that over on Rumble. Pinochet's helicopter tour is the best, most exciting helicopter ride you've ever been on. And the last one. Tim Walz had to be the VP pick to keep this from being discovered. Says, yeah, it was like a cover up. They wanted to shove him in there so that nobody would look into it again. They're in big trouble, man. Like every federal agency is looking into them, and it's a good place to start. Hey, B Job Secure. Thank you for bringing in these new membos. Or no. Yes, Shino and Donut got gifted membos courtesy of B Job Secure over on the Rumbles. Hey, Pinochet says, Coca-Cola did utilize death squads. It's true. 2001, Senal Trainal versus Coca-Cola Co. Yeah, I mean, to my teacher's perspective, I could have gone that direction, but I think our task was to just do a report on like a major corporation, and I don't think that it had to have a political bend to it. But that's what she wanted. So I was looking at Coca-Cola as like this great American company that was, reforming kind of the entire planet. Like their advertising's everywhere. They've kind of like invented, Santa Claus, like all these things. So it was a good project. And actually, what I was very happy and impressed with myself about this was you had like two options. You could do a diorama where you could just like make, like this poster board. I was a sophomore in high school. Okay. So like, at an all boys school. You could do a diorama or you could make a website. So this is like, I'm like a sophomore. I don't even know what year. It's like 2001, something like that. The other option was you could make a website. So I coded a whole friggin' website for this project. I was like the only kid in the whole class that like coded anything. I'm like, look at this thing. It's like your website, like HTML. I can't believe I did this. And so I was super excited about it. She hated it and dressed me down in front of everybody for it. So at that moment, I was like, oh, I get it. You're not looking for any innovation. You're not looking for any creativity or any dissent. You just want us all to be like little sheep. And I got it. I learned my lesson. And now She is a social, I mean, I don't know what she's doing now, but she was a social justice warrior. And now I think that she's probably not happy with the direction that one of her students has gone. And now we have a whole show about this, and we can still talk about how amazing Coca-Cola is. So eat it. I was going to say her name, but I won't. Rubos, President Trump bringing more fire. Says Venezuela is completely surrounded by the largest armada ever assembled in history. All right, so that's happening. The Rubos, thank you to the Rubos. We got Deborah Myers. Says 3 full babies. Woohoo, love this channel, man. We love you back, Deborah. Thank you for being here for 27 months. That is 3 babies. So that 28 months was not a multiple of 9. Got it. All right, Deborah Myers, thank you for that. What a great comment, my friends. Let's see what's cracking over on Locals and on X. And then we'll wrap it up on the day. Of course, coming back tomorrow in the morning. Members, this morning we had a great stream too. What did we talk about this morning? I don't even know. Oh, Trump's $10 billion lawsuit and other good stories, but I can't remember what they are. But they were really good, though. Trust me. Hey, OTR Smokehouse on X. Hey, Rob, great show as always. I found out that my home state of Ohio is ranked 2nd for having the most Somalis behind Minnesota. That sucks. I feel that actual American citizens would benefit so much if we could deport all the people from not here back to their home countries. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, anybody who is not a citizen, pretty easy decision. Just say, okay, you're on a visa, time to go. And if you're a naturalized citizen and you lied on your forms, then you should be denaturalized. If you're a marriage fraudster like Ilhan, if you lied about your age when you came over, all of it should be actionable. And the people responsible for breaking and breaching our laws should go. Hey, John Cobb is here. Yeah, Cervera was covering her assets. Yeah. Yeah, we got that, I think, at the end when she's like, she also warned her sister. She's an obstructionist. Ill-fated thunder. I mean, yes, but no. Once the judge signed it, it was considered legal. Doesn't matter. The FBI didn't think they had probable cause. The judge believed they had presented was probable cause. Don't think there's anything that can be done about that. Yeah, I guess you could look into the presentation to the judge, and you could say that the DOJ was dishonest in their presentation. So the judge is an innocent party. The judge didn't have the full slate of facts. The DOJ that was asking for the warrant perverted the truth and presented the judge with something that was not accurate. So they should be held responsible for that erroneous or obstructionary presentation to the judge. Sergeant Bob says, like in the old Wendy's commercial to Bondi and Patel, where's the beef? Yeah, we actually want justice. Hey, there's Dr. Rob. What is this? Dr. Rob. There you go. twc.health/Robert, today's sponsor. Please be advised, Rob is not a medical profession. No, it's true. Any information is not medical advice. There you go. Oh, what's wrong with your ankle there, little Johnny? Don't worry, little Johnny. We'll get you back up on your feet in no time. I'd be a terrible doctor. Hey, Amy Ann. Hey, watchers. No place I'd rather be on my 59th birthday. Happy birthday. 59th birthday. Thank you for celebrating with us all. Amy Ann, happy birthday to you. Hopefully it's a good one. You're doing something fun. 2 scoops of ice cream tonight, no doubt. Moose in the house. Hey, considering Rob's comment in this morning's stream that we need to reclaim the university. Did I say that this morning? Man, that's a smart thing to say. We do need to reclaim the university. I agree. I recommend the following book, an excellent summary of how the American university morphed from an institution that promoted the pursuit of truth and developing students and citizens with critical thinking skills into institutions that indoctrinate students with critical Marxist theory and undermine America. This book also provides evidence that Christianity is good, reasonable, and true, and provides a strategy for reclaiming the original mission of the American university. Dang, that sounds good. Corey Miller, PhD, president of Ratio Christi, a Christian organization working to reclaim the American university. Ratio Christi is worthy of support in its own right. RatioChristi.org. That is a great recommendation. And what was there was a book, I should have looked this up before. It's like at the tip of my tongue. Oh, it's called Weapons of Mass. It's an education book. Weapons of Mass Instruction, I think. Weapons of Mass Instruction. Yes. That's the book I was thinking of this morning. It's a great book. It shows how our schools are just a joke, essentially. And I was talking about how much I learned, not in school, essentially, and how you just kind of have to go through the motions in order to get what you need. In my case, I needed a degree, then I needed a law license or a law degree, sit for the bar, and all the things. So, yeah, and our education system right now, it's like we need a place to drop kids off so both parents can work, whereas maybe both parents wouldn't need to work if we had sound currency and hard money. And then one parent could spend time with the kids, the other parent could work, but they then train the students to become like little factory workers, like 9 to 5, get up with the bell, get a break, come back, do the things. Young boys, if you act up or you've got like, an energy that you need to get outside or something, they're like, your kid, something's wrong with him. Here, take these amphetamines. Here, put some amphetamines in your boy. He'll be great. Oh my goodness. That's our country right now. So we got some work to do, but we're going to do it, baby. We're just getting started here. We've got a long road ahead, and we're excited to be here with you on the journey. But we'll pause here for the evening. Deborah Myers, 27 months as a membo. Great to have you. A couple of additional comments on X, and then we'll wrap it up on the day. TJ King, what's up, TJ? Says, Dear Slotkin and the Seditious Six, in 2022, when the FBI told the DOJ to stop ordering them to execute illegal raids on presidential candidates, had Trump and MAGA made a video to the FBI, what would you have said? From TJ King. Good question. FBI, you don't have to execute unlawful search warrants. If they don't have probable cause, you don't have to do them. Democrats would have said that's an insurrection. Yeah. Ill-fated thunder. I mean, yes, but no. Once the judge signed it, Cervera was covering her booty. The breaking news story about the Mar-a-Lago raid being pushed by the Biden DOJ is old news from 2023. I think we knew that. Like when Merrick Garland came out and said that he personally approved the search warrant, that was a pretty good indicator that that's true. Like, yeah, he said that, I think, in 2022. So we knew that Garland approved it. And there was a back and forth between Jack Smith and the DOJ about what Jack Smith's role was. Was he subordinate to Merrick Garland, or was he an independent agency? They never wanted to answer that. Now, today, I think that the new reveal is that we've got the emails that show FBI agents were saying this warrant is invalid, essentially. They did it anyways. Everyone knows, says James, that the crooked FBI agents that conducted the Trump raid wanted an excuse to execute him. That was their goal. They hated him so much they wanted him dead. All of them have to be fired. Every last one of them. Yeah, and I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that there are many of them who did want him dead. And they shot him in the head, and nothing really even happened there. They just mopped up the crime scene. We got no final report about Thomas Matthew Crooks or anything. Just kind of, oh well. But our urinating in public cases are down. Great job, everybody. All right, so my friends, let us leave it there. It has been a beautiful afternoon and an evening together. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Thank you for liking the video on your way out. And then, of course, we hope that you hit that notification bell so that when we come back tomorrow, might be early, we'll see what happens with the Georgia hearing, you join us and we see what Fani Willis has to say in some of that hearing. So we'll pause here for the evening, my friends. Thanks once again for being here. Come back, join us tomorrow when we get into it again. Before we wrap up the day, we want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths who mod the fort down for us, keep things nice and orderly around here. Big thank yous and shout outs to Donut Mind Me. We got John in the house. Shout outs to Muffin Rando. We got K Bean, Carrie B, Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger, Gigum, Gigum, Elliot, and just Rhonda modding the fort down for us, keeping things nice and orderly around here. Grateful for everybody being here. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Tuesday stream. We're going to have a great week ahead, but we'll pause here for the evening and we'll come back tomorrow to get into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very, very well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. We brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we exposed corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Watching the watchers. We won't be denied. Watching the watchers. Eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care.